Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the Rapid City Area Schools Board of Education Board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And Sheila, can we get a roll call, please?
Troy Carr.
Here.
Jamie Clapham. Here. Katie Urban. Here. Donna Moore. Here. Walt Swan.
Here.
Angela Rafferty. Here. Christine Stephenson.
Here.
Marissa Ballness.
Here.
Elena Braun.
Here.
And Warren Merrill is absent with notice.
All right, thank you. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed agenda.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, at this point, we're sharing the success. Dr. Thompson.
She could do our photos next year. Good evening, board. It is my pleasure today to share an inspiring story from Robbinsdale Elementary School. I am proud to announce that Robbinsdale has been honored with the Red Ribbon Spirit Award from the Rushmore Noon Optimist Club for their outstanding participation and community engagement during Red Ribbon Week. This year's theme, Life is a Puzzle, Solve It Drug-Free, sparked creativity, leadership, and teamwork among students, staff, and families. Robbinsdale students embraced the challenge, showing what it means to lead by example and make positive, healthy choices. Some of the highlights of their celebration included a community kickoff event. Students and families were joined by local leaders, including the mayor at the Middaloosahan Senior Center to launch the week and hear the official drug-free proclamation. Even Robbie the Roadrunner, the school's mascot, was part of the excitement. Each day featured fun themes from Super Solver Day to Be a Hero, Not a Zero. Students dressed as superheroes, detectives, and creative problem solvers, proudly declaring that Roadrunners are problem solvers. Daily announcements featured students sharing encouraging messages about healthy habits, giving every student a voice in promoting positive choices. Students also reached out to local businesses for messages of support, which were displayed in the school's community puzzle, highlighting the power of collaboration. Students participated in billboard and coloring contests, with several earning honorable mentions from the Noon Optimist Club. From red ribbons on the fence to classroom door decorations, Robbinsdale hallways were full of energy, unity, and school pride. Assemblies focused on communication, setting boundaries, and resisting peer pressure, linking social-emotional learning to real-life decision-making. And there was a sweet celebration. A caramel apple kickoff reminded students that life is sweet when you stay drug-free. The students, staff, families, and community partners of Robbinsdale Elementary each contributed a puzzle piece to create a safe, supportive, and connected school environment. Their efforts reflect the very best of our district and serve as a model for student leadership and community engagement. Please join me in congratulating Robbinsdale Elementary for this well-deserved recognition.
All right, Mrs. Urban.
Congratulations, you guys. This is a really big deal. And your leaders already in elementary school that that is gonna bode well for you later in life. So keep leading as you get older, whenever you get the opportunity. It's great experience. And thank you for the school teacher leaders and Miss Keeney and for fostering that.
Mrs. Stephenson.
My first comment is that an official Robbinsdale t-shirt, a Roadrunner t-shirt that you have on?
This one is just.
Oh, I would like one of those. I need to get my Robbinsdale gear. A more important question, I was wondering if there is a brave student who could tell me. I heard that Roadrunners are problem solvers, and I was wondering how that fits into your drug-free week. You don't have to give a long answer. How are Roadrunners problem solvers? Great. Thank you.
All right, I think, Bobby, do you need to get a
Absolutely.
picture? Mm. All right, they just did. All right, now we're on to open forum. We have 4 speakers tonight. Each of you will have 5 minutes, and your speech is timed, so we're asking everyone to stay within the time limit. I haven't read the guidelines in a long time, so I'll take the opportunity to do that tonight. Issues that affect an individual or particular school should be addressed at the building level. Speakers should speak clearly and concisely and should stay focused on their main points. Speakers must refrain from making complaints about personnel, either naming the employee directly or identifying them indirectly. Complaints regarding district policy should be filed in accordance with District Code KL Public Complaints. Speakers must respectfully communicate. Speakers must refrain from making threats, using vulgar language, intimidating or harassing the board or members of the district. All right, first up is Mr. Jones. You may start.
So why I'm here tonight is to deal with kind of a board issue at first. So what I noticed is it's hard for us parents to reach out to whoever our member is if we don't have all the staff on the website. I noticed tonight we don't have Walt on there, and I think there's one other. So we need to get your guys' Meet the Board website up to date and have all our members on it. Next thing I want to deal with is violence within the district and with dealing with administration and why victims are punished as well as the person that created the issue anyways. And when we do give our students ISS or OSS, whatever you want to call it, in school or out of school suspension, why is it when they're in school suspension, the administration is giving these kids treats, letting them play on YouTube? Like when us as a parent sees that and the kid comes home and says, hey, it was the greatest thing in the world. What? You're saying ISS is the greatest thing in the world? No, that should never be the case. No student should ever want to go back to ISS. So now at North Middle School, what we're seeing is these students that get reprimanded for their behaviors for horseplay or whatnot, they go to ISS, they get these treats. It's a continuous process. They just want to go back now because you guys are treating them like there was no problem to begin with. When I reach out to board members or anybody in administration, nobody wants to reach back out to get these problems solved, it's inappropriate. Like, you guys need to step it up. I'm done with all the BS that you guys think that it's okay to treat these kids like they're little angels when they're in ISS. If they're in ISS, they're there for a reason. Stop giving them YouTube. Stop allowing them to play on their dang phones. Like, this has to stop. You just spoke about how these young children are leaders at the elementary level, right? We train them to be leaders. They get to the middle school and now all of a sudden they're not a leader because of the way the administration wants to treat them. This is so inappropriate. Like, we raise them like this. You just seen it. They're all leaders. But by the time they get to that middle school, that ain't the way your administration sees it. If we want these kids to continue to be leaders, help them at the next level. Instead of, okay, you're getting ISS, but we're going to treat you like you did nothing wrong. Because if I was in the streets and I did something wrong, I'm going to go to jail. The jail ain't going to give me a YouTube and all that. If they were, I'm going to come back out and do the same thing I did. I'm not going to learn my lesson. So what is ISS to do for our students if we're not teaching them a lesson in there and we're just giving them treats and YouTube? This is my issue with you guys. Please step it up. Look at your administrations and your school districts and fix it. There's no reason a parent should have to be at a school so many times a week over the same issue and it not be resolved. I'm very calm tonight, trying not to use my profanity because I'll fly off the end. But take this now as being calm before I have to come back and get vulgar and all that. Like, us parents are done with it. Even PD has said the same stuff. You guys need to step it up and get down on administration. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is, glasses do help, Ms. Comis.
Hi, Diana Comis. I'm a retired person from Rapid City School System after 41 years. A little background. Back in the day at Ninth Grade Academy at Lincoln, we had over 90 students, 6 teachers, 1 principal, a secretary, special needs teacher and an aide, and 1 security and in-school suspension. The level 1 secretary did it all. She recorded the grades, truancy, phone calls, attendance, sent out the letters. The teachers did the credit checks with the students themselves and planned ahead for the next year. Everyone pitched in and got things done to help the secretary. Today at Rapid City Academies, there is a middle school program that is very expensive. I was there when and saw the expenses that we sent our teachers to visit other outside programs, like in Colorado, up to Aberdeen and other places. When those teachers missed, subs came in, were paid. I also called Corey Sassy, I'm not sure about his name, office and visited with his secretary, who said she'd state my concerns to him. This was last year. This program's still in effect. I think it's terrible misabuse of our taxpayers' money for these few students. On an average, there's 8 to 12 students attending this middle school program. Where are the other 20, 30 kids that were signed up? What do they do every day? Where are they? I believe there's around 5 teachers, a focus room, a couple of other staff, plus a counselor. When I taught, the couple years I got to teach, I did 2 hours at one school. I got in a car and I went to another school to fill my day. What are these teachers doing if you only have 5 to 8 students? What do they do all day long? Shouldn't they have to go someplace else and put in time other than sitting in one spot? According to the Rapid City Journal, the contracts for the wages came out. I kind of did some averaging figures with the teachers' names that I knew. 5 of that comes to an average of $250,000 for 8 to 12 students. I threw in the counselor because I didn't know that find how much they made, so I just put in 30,000. I didn't find the other 2 people who were new, estimated another 30,000. About an estimated tax for that middle school program is $310,000. Now let's add in a principal and vice principal for $238,000. I'm not going to include the staff for the other 60, maybe 70 students that I counted that average go into school for those days. You have at least 5 ladies in the office. I just averaged $20 an hour for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, 140,000 a month. Add those all up, it's $2,808,000. How did we go from one principal with 90 students, one secretary, and a few teachers to what we're doing today? It's absolutely crazy. As a retired senior citizen, 50% of my taxes go to the school district. I feel this is a huge misuse of funds. I picked this school because I retired from it and I was in school suspension and I love the students that we helped. But this new program and some of the things that are going in all our schools is a misuse of our taxpayers' dollars. Who's the watchdog? Who checks to see on where the money's being spent? Is there anyone who can check on, check what's being spent and actually say no? The last pet peeve I have is, are any of you aware that after the COVID, $232,000 worth of computers were never returned to the Rapid City School District? And now, at the average cost of $580 a computer, every year, those computers are not returned to the school district. And they just don't come back. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
This time, next speaker is, no, I want to say you have a married name now. It's Fuller at this point. Or are you going hyphenated, Thompson Fuller?
I'm going hyphenated.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's Thompson Fuller.
Is this mic on? Okay. Yeah, my name is Florence Thompson Fuller, and I'm president of South Dakota Parents Involved in Education. And we are a chapter of U.S. Parents Involved in Education, USPI. And USPI awards a Millstone of the Month award. This is given to the person involved in government schools who has committed the most egregious acts against children. These individuals have taken steps to funnel wokeness and other harmful pedagogies into America's classrooms. I'm going to give the quotation. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Matthew 18:6. The January award winner January award winner was Brian Lozinski for calling through for the overthrow of the United States. This is an educator. The February award, Francisco Duran, defending sex offender who exposed himself in the girls' locker room. In March, Ted Mitchell, opposing Trump's order to end DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Alexis McGill Johnson, targeting children with graphic coloring books at the science centers. Representative Lorena Garcia, Representative Rebecca Stewart, Senator Faith Winter, and Senator Chris Kolker, sponsoring bill to remove custody from non-transgender affirming parents. In June, Jennifer Brohard, misusing federal funds to corrupt children with LGBTQ indoctrination. July 2025, Dr. Bobby Mukamala, siding with those who would inflict permanent harm on children. Stanley S. Surley in August, sponsoring a bill forcing government standards on homeschool children. September 2025, Celeste Rodriguez, California legislator who sponsored a bill allowing non-relatives to make decisions for kids. In October, James Guerra, DEI consultant who got illegal alien school superintendent hired. Mickey Sherrill, Teachers Union backed New Jersey gubernatorial candidate for supporting drag in the classrooms. Just a few examples, but it's not unheard of in this part of the world. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Ms. Hunter. Well, come on with it.
So my name is Stephanie Hunter. I am one of your employees. I am the president of the Rapid City Education Association, and I have been in the district since 2011. I wanted to acknowledge that this week is American Education Week. The entire week is. The association delivered cookies to all 25 buildings, as well as to our maintenance and warehouse people. And it truly takes all of us. This isn't just about the people who are in front of students. It takes leaders like you. It takes the board. It takes superintendents. It takes our finance people. It takes everybody that is here. It takes our student leaders who want to continue to improve. Please know that we appreciate everything. While we might not agree all the time, that's okay. But what is important is we are here for the students each and every day, and we are very, very proud to be public school education teachers. So on that, if you go into executive session, you're welcome to have cookies. Whatever you leave behind, give to these guys and they'll put it in the lounge. So thank you.
Well, thank you so very much. We appreciate that. Right. Yeah. Right there. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Again, thank you, Ms. Hunter, for that. Appreciate that. All right, any board response to open forum? Mrs. Clapham.
I'll try to be as brief and direct and concise. I always appreciate parents reaching out. I will say, as I tried, there are some funky things on the website. I haven't tried them in a long time. So thank you for pointing that out.
They're board members too, right?
What's that?
They're part of the board too.
No, they're
Mr.
not.
Jones, we're not taking questions or comments at this time.
But no, they're not. There's the 7 board members are from here, so just saying. So I appreciate that, and we will look into that. And of course, behavior discipline education is always this board's priority. And I think that approaching administration and finding out where things are maybe not going right or is always something that we want. We want the best for kids. Like everybody sitting at this desk wants the best for kids. We're not sitting here for our health or some of the crazy reasons people believe that people join the school board. But we do absolutely want the best for kids. And so we appreciate your concerns. I did receive your most recent email, and so we hopefully can continue to build and work on that. As far as I don't want to get into the weeds on the middle school program, but I think there may be some confusion or misinformation, because Rapid City Alternative Academy also has all of our high school alternative students. So like all of the office staff, the principal, those aren't for 12 middle school students. The entire high school program utilizes the same office staff and administration. And so there's not staff for 12 students. So I think maybe there's a little confusion or misinformation on that, because that is not the case. I do think that our middle school program is growing. It's new. And so new programs always start, you start at the beginning, they don't start full. And we really have responded to feedback that we see a lot of challenges at that transition from middle school to high school. And we're really trying to be actively reps. We've heard that from students, we've heard it from staff, we've heard it from parents. And so we are trying to be responsive to our community and what those students need so that we can help them to succeed. So that middle school program, I said, is in its infancy, but it is not, I said, there is not an entire full staff just for middle school. So just wanted to clarify that. And the other thing I just wanted to say to Ms. Hunter, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going into year 4 on the board, so I'm like not the newbie anymore, but I will say I appreciate you have always had the utmost respect, professionalism, and it is a privilege to work with staff that is that way. Like you said, do we always agree? No, but I can always count on respect, collaboration, communication, and that's the only way this ship gets anywhere, is if we all work together. So thank you for that reminder, and thank you for supporting and celebrating all of our staff. We appreciate that.
All right. Any more board comments on open forum? All right, at this, Ms. Stephenson.
And I want to preface what I'm saying is that I'm speaking on behalf of one board member, not the whole board, which I know that President Carr said that. I'm hoping that with your, I wrote down,
Jones.
Mr. Jones. Yeah, I think it's important to understand that the 7 of us are members of the school board and we have kind of a 30,000-foot view. When you have a concern with a school, we encourage you to start at the school level. I will say, I've heard over the years that I've been a board member that sometimes people complain at the school level and things seem to not go anywhere. And then they try to complain higher and they don't get anywhere with that. So I've heard that complaint, not just from you. We have a director of student success. We have a public complaint policy in that instance where instead of going to the principal, if you're not satisfied with that, you can file a public complaint form, and that is on our website. And then that will go through, that kind of skips and goes up higher and it goes through a process. That's my understanding of it. And then we have a director of student success who is kind of helping. I mean, if you go to her site on the website, the thing she says is, if you have any questions or concerns, reach out. Like that's underneath her title. So I would encourage you to go through that. The 7 of us, the way that we're structured, it would be pretty inappropriate and not under our purview to go down to a middle school and say, we think you should be doing this differently. We kind of have to stay away from it because if you file a complaint and it comes to us, we have to be able to stay neutral about any sort of complaint that comes and hear both sides and make a decision. So you're not going to hear directly from us about your specific scenario. And that's what it is not that we don't care. And I care very deeply about people having complaints heard and having them resolved. But it's not something that 1 out of 7 that I can handle. And then I wanted to, I have to get my Word document up. I wanted to say to Mrs. Comis, thank you for serving the district. Thank you for coming tonight and continue to pay attention and care about our district. You're here because you care. I believe that we have a study session about behavior, about the different things we're doing to address behaviors in the district. And I would like to learn more about the current state of the middle school program. It's been a while since we've heard what's going on. So I hope that you'll see that on an agenda soon and you can tune in and have some of your questions answered and us too. But I appreciate you coming tonight and sharing your concerns.
All right, any other board member comments on open forum? Okay, at this time, we'll have our student reports. First from Central, we have Ms. Boness.
Good evening, board. I hope you're all doing well tonight. Here is my report on the recent events at Central High School. Yesterday, our seniors and juniors had the opportunity to participate in a free tour of Western Dakota Tech. The 37 students who attended were able to learn about scholarships, specific programs offered by the college, and the application process in whole. On that same track, 2 weeks ago, the Cobbler Career Center hosted its College Application Day, where counselors and college representatives assisted over 60 students with applications and post-high school planning. I can say that as a student and especially as a senior, I've really greatly appreciated the many new, accessible, and free opportunities that the school has provided this year to support students and their families through that college application process. Additionally, last week, our school hosted a successful parade to honor our veterans for Veterans Day, largely led by our JROTC program. On a related note to that, we also just finished ASVAB testing with record numbers of over 30 students successfully participating. As you of course already know, our student council held its first listening session with members from the school board and Mr. Lundeen last week. I wanted to bring this up tonight to express my sincere gratitude to you all for taking that time to converse with students. Not only were participants able to feel heard and share their concerns, but many, including myself, left the session with a greater sense of initiative in improving our school community. Also, in the realm of community involvement, Central is continuing its fall food drive, where we are thankful to continually see plentiful donations from students and faculty. As for activities currently happening at Central, the theater department just wrapped up its fall play, A Christmas Carol, last weekend, which was a great success. Speech and Debate kicked off its official season 2 weeks ago in Sturgis and continued this past weekend competing in Cheyenne. So far, the team has earned 27 individual awards as well as an overall first place team award, which is a very promising start to the year. Last week, Central's chapter of HOSA held its Fall Launch Academy. Additionally, they also had their first Science Saturday since prior to COVID, where elementary students from around the community were able to come and do hands-on science experiments. And lastly, we are just wrapping up our fall sports for the year. And with that, boys basketball tryouts begin this coming Friday before and after school. So we'll be excited to launch the season shortly after Thanksgiving, a break which I can say both our students and faculty are avidly looking forward to. And with that, I leave you with our motto, once a cobbler, always cobbler. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions for Ms. Boness? Board. Can you tell me what the acronym HOSA stands for?
That is a really good.
I think it's Health Occupation Student Association.
Okay, I'm not involved in HOSA
Yeah,
personally,
Health
but thank
Occupation
you for
Student
that.
Association.
Okay, that's a mouthful. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any questions? Oh, Ms. Clapton.
I didn't have a question, just a comment, 2 comments. One, I wanted to say thank you for having us. It was a really good experience, the student forum that we had, and I look forward to more of them. And that anybody who didn't get to go see the Christmas Carol, it was wonderful. And I think the farewell tour of Mr. Lohr and Mr. Speck is going to be very emotional for a lot of people. There were already tears, and I think there's going to be tears at every performance from here on out, because they have invested so much in this community and that program. So both of those were awesome and great to be able to be a part of. So good job, Central.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Boness. Wonderful report. At this time, Stevens, Ms. Braun.
Let me open my camera up so people can see me. Okay, good evening, board. We have some exciting events at Stevens this month. This Thursday, November 20th, hoop dancer Tara Kinji will be coming in during second period. She'll be performing and teaching students and staff about traditional Indigenous hoop dancing. Several Stevens students will also have the opportunity to dance alongside her for their classmates. And then one thing in development currently at Stevens is Senior Service Day. On March 4th of next year, the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are taking the ACT. Previously, seniors had to take the NCRC, or National College Readiness Certificate, but this year, our seniors will be doing something a little different. We are developing a Senior Service Day at Stevens, where our seniors will do acts of service for our school and community. Some projects are in the works, like a service project with our neighbor South Canyon Lutheran Church. Once a month, they make lunch for Stevens students and staff. I go every month, and I love going. It's the best day of the week when I can eat church lunch. We had it today, and they served us walking tacos and homemade desserts. So good. Other projects being considered include making tie blankets and making dog biscuits for the Humane Society. And then second semester at Stevens, we will be hosting a Ronald McDonald Foundation Pop Tab Pandemonium fundraiser. Students and staff will donate their pop tabs and boxes throughout the school to support Ronald McDonald House. We are getting a Ronald McDonald House in Rapid City next to our hospital, and so we feel it's important to support such an impactful organization. And then on Thursday at 4 and 7, and on Friday at 7, the annual Raider Rarities Talent Show will be taking place. This show will feature our incredible Raiders and acts like Senior Jazz, the highly anticipated Drumline, and someone who will be eating 10 hot dogs in 3 minutes. Stevens also finished up our fall play. Last week, we put on The Servant of Two Masters, a comedy from, I don't know, it's the 1700s, but they had a modern spin on it, including the songs Bye 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 by NSYNC and Man Child by Sabrina Carpenter. So that was very funny. And another exciting thing at Stevens is that we have several exchange students. Two of them, Mohammed and Miriam, are from Pakistan. Today, they have presented to several classes, including my AP Spanish class, about their home country of Pakistan, telling Stevens students about different cultures and countries around the world. Each month, Stevens is highlighting a department. This month, we highlighted the Social Studies department. Our AP Government hosted their presidential elections and final debate, learning about the election and campaign process. And our AP US History class continues their Death March, as it is lovingly named by Mr. Iverson and his students. They are working hard to cover hundreds of years of history by May. And our social studies teachers boasted the best showing in the annual Teachers versus Students Knowledge Bowl match, but the students did come out on top again. And the teacher spotlight for this month is Josephine Winter. Mrs. Winter teaches English 11 and AP Literature and Composition. Mrs. Winter has taught at Stevens for 4 years. She went to the University of Colorado, and she always knew she wanted to be a teacher, but she fell in love with literature later. In her free time, Mrs. Winter hangs out with her husband and her toddler Ruth, who motivates us to stay focused through memes during class. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you very much. Board members, any questions for Mrs. Braun? None? Okay, Mrs. Urban.
I love the service project. That's great. And maybe you probably aren't the right person to ask, but just maybe something to keep in the back of your head, administrators, is, are we abandoning the NCRC completely and, or is that just this year?
Yes, the NCRC is something that the South Dakota Department of Education was having us do as a part of our state report card. And they have decided to go a different direction. And so they are no longer funding that for our students.
All right, anybody else? All right.
Do you have a date on the Senior Service Day?
March 4th.
All right, anything else on our student reports? All right, ladies, thank you. Two very good reports. This time we'll have our superintendent report, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. I would like to highlight a couple of initiatives put in place recently to address the mental health and behavior of students. The first is coming around to you now. RCAS is hosting a Mindset Matters Mental Health Conference on December 12th and 13th. This is a free 2-part event designed to support the mental health and well-being of our students, families, staff, and community by providing meaningful opportunities to learn, discuss, and strengthen our collective understanding of mental health. On Friday, December 12th, we will host a film and discussion for both youth and adults from 6 to 8:30 p.m. in the Central High School Auditorium. The night will include a screening of the film My Ascension, which is a powerful documentary that follows the real-life story of Emma Benoist's suicide attempt and her mission now to share hope and awareness with others. Then on Saturday, December 13th, we will host a full-day Mindset Matters Conference for adults only from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at South Middle School. The day will include keynote speakers Holly Strand, who is a forensic examiner, and Emma Benoist, mental health advocate and the subject of the film My Ascension. The full-day conference is designed to equip adults with tools, resources, and increased awareness to support mental health within our schools and our community. The second program is our elementary and secondary office administrators have committed to a new behavior strategy pilot called Daily Behavior Huddles. Our elementary principals are beginning a 45-day improvement cycle, as with our strategic plan, focused on reducing aggressive behaviors in students and increasing consistency in behavior and discipline practices across our elementary schools. Beginning this last week, principals and central office administrators met with Dr. Strasser daily at 8:15 a.m. via Teams to review building level behavior data, discuss strategies implemented the previous day, share their challenges and successes, and then collaboratively brainstorm improvements. This is a significant time commitment from both Dr. Strasser and our elementary principals. and I'm grateful for their willingness to engage deeply in this work. We are treating it as a pilot initiative. If the 45-day cycle leads to measurable improvement, the practice will be continued and possibly even expanded. If meaningful improvement is not evident, then the strategy will be discontinued. Our goal is to build stronger consistency, elevate best practices, and support principals as they work together to improve student behavior and learning environments. And finally, I would like to provide you an update regarding federal programs. Our federal grants and related programs and staff have been temporarily reassigned to existing directors at central office. I am extremely grateful to each one of our directors for adding additional work and responsibilities to their already full plates, as well as to our managers, administrative assistants, and other grants management staff who are working hard throughout this transition. Reassignment of responsibilities was necessary because we have deadlines that we must meet, and because I want to take some time to evaluate whether these grants and programs fit well with the current directors they have been placed with in terms of purpose and workload. I suspect that some of these temporary arrangements could become long-term placements, but others are much too labor-intensive to be added to an existing director long-term. This trial period will help me determine what this federal grant management position should include in the future. Once that has been determined, I will work with Ms. Wojcik to develop a job description and conduct a position level analysis to determine whether the position needs to remain at the director level or, due to our current rearrangement, could become a manager level position or a level in between, such as a senior manager or associate or deputy director positions. Either way, I do not want to rush into hiring without taking these steps to determine what we truly need as a district. And that concludes my report.
Oh, thank you. Board questions for Dr. Thompson? Ms. Stephenson?
My one question about the Mindset Matters, when I saw it I saw it come through my work before I saw it from the district. Is there a way for teachers or professionals to get continuing education credits, or is that not,
That's a good
is this more intended for lay folk?
Jen Roberts will answer that question for you.
Is it on? Okay, there we go. We do have some staff who elected to use this option as part of their floating PD. So we do have staff that are using it in that way and I guess getting credit for professional development. They elected this before school started as one of the possible options. And I believe there are about 80 staff members that chose to do that. Any other staff member may still attend, that wishes to, and it is open to the public as well.
Okay, that's a perfect answer. I'm glad that staff had a chance to get credit for, or PD for it. My next comment / question is for Dr. Strasser, and for the principals that are involved in these huddles. It's just elementary school.
Right now, we're focusing on a continuous improvement cycle with our elementary principals. In essence, we looked at specific data around a subgroup of behaviors that we saw was something we wanted to address, and this is a way for us to work towards addressing it, to collaborate, work together on what we're seeing as things that are going well, what are things that we need to improve on. Are we looking at certain safety concerns along the way? So it's 15 minutes a day, so there is that commitment. We're just over a week into it, so we're really learning, trying to figure out how do we best use that time, make it impactful, and try to get the results that we want as a collaborative group.
It's only 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Yeah, it goes.
I can't even imagine.
Long, yeah.
I love meetings, and I could fit through a couple hours of behavioral meetings, just kind of like throwing in my comments, but I really appreciate it. I'm joking, I'm not joking, I do love meetings, but one thing that I really love is collaboration. I feel like I've been doing my job a long time, and every time I ask a colleague for help, I get a new idea. So I'm so appreciative of that. And the other thing that we hear in the district all the time is people feel like they're kind of alone when they're in principal positions. I mean, I don't hear it all the time, but I've heard it enough to say this is a pattern that principals feel like they're operating just like on their own, on a little island. So I appreciate you taking the initiative to do this. I appreciate all the principals, because I can imagine it is a big thing to every day check in at 8:15 when there's 1,000 other things going on. So thank you, and I really look forward to an update. Dr. Thompson, along the lines of behavioral things that are going on, I know that we mentioned that it would be handy to have a one pager that kind of says all the things. Is that coming? Or did you need to wait until this got put on it?
Yeah, that's what we were doing. No, it is coming.
Okay.
I have a calendar of upcoming topics and I can't remember which month that is, but the month that that comes out, we'll have the one pager with it.
So we'll do a study session.
Probably just a report here at one of the meetings, like 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Okay.
Unless you think we need a whole study session, but
I'll leave that
I
up
think
to
we could
leadership.
probably get through it
It's a
in that
big
amount of time.
It's a big topic. And sometimes regular board meetings get long, and I think that's why study sessions are sometimes nice. So I'll leave that up to leadership, but just I'd love a study session. Okay.
All right, Ms. Clapham.
Really quick, a couple of comments. One, I'm excited about the mental health conference. I actually got the privilege of meeting with Roxanne several months ago, and she was so excited about this months ago. So seeing it come to fruition in life, and also seeing our grants at work, when we see these grants, and like we've heard so many people say how many kids are struggling with anxiety, with depression, with like, this is hugely needed. I wondered on the federal programs, two questions. One, in your previous district, did you have many of the in-between, like non-director, non-managers? Is that something that you've seen or done before? Not that it limits, we should always think out of the box, just
In my
curious.
previous district, we only had directors. We didn't even have managers, so we had less levels there.
Okay, and then my other question was, and again, I like the thinking out of the box, that it doesn't have to be, can recreate this. Do you in your mind have a timeline for when you would want that job to be posted, and like what the timeline for hiring would be, or are you still assessing so much that we haven't gotten there?
I'm thinking that within the next month, we could probably have it advertised and start that process. The thing I don't really know though is whether we would be able to hire someone to start, in December or January, or if that would be someone that's committed throughout the entire school year and we'd be looking at a July hire. So there's a lot to be determined with that.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, Ms. Rafferty.
So this question is for Dr. Strausser. I love how you're getting together with the principals and you're piloting this program. You're thinking outside the box, when you meet with the principals and the principals are sharing strategies, what data are you guys using to look at to determine where you're heading?
For our data, we rely, Tom Stewart, the student support manager, pulls data, and he's got a spreadsheet that he updates every night. I've been pretty clear with principals that they're in charge of ensuring consistency in reporting, and as the leader of their building, that even though they may have an AP or a dean helping them, that they import that data or input that data consistently and accurately according to our matrix and processes. So we pull a lot of things, but we look at side by side data for every building from one day to the next, so that we're looking at, well, why did we have an increase of behaviors, aggressive behaviors in this school from 0 to 2? I mean, may not seem like much, but in a day, that's a lot. So then we ask principals to review and analyze their data before coming to the meeting. And then we have opportunities to talk about, well, what were some of the bright spots or successes that you had concerning student behavior from the previous day? And then what what is the challenge coming off of reviewing your data and the situations around that. So then we can problem solve or troubleshoot. And again, it's principals, it's myself, it's Mr. Stewart, it's Mr. Sargent, it's Director Roberts, Director Veit, so Director Comer. So I mean, we're all on there and committed. Again, it's a 45-day improvement cycle. So that was the ask that I had of the principals. And it's again, when you start things, it's kind of hard to get into a flow or routine. So it's going to take some time for us to get there and to hopefully have the impact that we want. But we've had really good clarifying questions. Why are we looking at the data this way, or am I entering it correctly? So just some initial thinking around our process and what that means for each principal. So the collaborative piece, we're all hearing it, and we're all hopefully getting more consistent with our approach. So that's a big part of it. And then that problem solving piece and how are we really trying to look at things. We've had some good thoughts around, for example, where do things take place? So we have a location piece for our behaviors, where they're happening. And if they're happening on the playground, well, what supports do we have there? And how do we look at that better or differently to see if we can change where some of our incidents are happening? So it's an opportunity for us to have those kind of conversations again, and just kind of a daily, let's get right to it and let's hear from each other. And that's what we're working towards, and having that in place. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was really pretty.
Thank you for sharing what you are doing with the team of principals in our district. Do you still feel that PBIS is effective in collecting data and looking at it? And
Well, that's a big question.
that could be another discussion for another time too. So.
I think it is an important component in an overall approach to how do we work with student behavior and overall well-being in our school system. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Very good report. Mr. Sassy, Business Manager report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very happy to know I really don't have anything to report tonight. Next month, we're going to start our budget series, looking at early budget indicators as we move into budget season for fiscal year 27. So I'm going to spare you tonight, and I'm going to save my reporting for next month. I do want to make a very brief comment that item 15C, budget revisions for title programs. I want to explain that what those adjustments are adjustments from estimated allocations that we included in the preliminary and final budget for this year. That obviously, as we're working through the budget process, oftentimes we don't know what those allocations are going to be. And in years like this, it was well into this fiscal year before we actually had the finalized allocations. So these allocations are simply matching the finalized allocations for the various programs. When then the carryover from the previous year is finalized, there will be another budget amendment then to pull in the carryover. But at this point, this is just finalizing those allocations for the current fiscal year, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you.
That's it for me, sir.
All right, any questions for Mr. Sassy? All right, seeing none at this time, we will have a presentation of the 26-27 calendar. Now, just for clarity, we will have our presentation where board will be able to ask as many questions and whatever you like to say. And then I'll entertain a motion to approve this calendar that's being presented to us. That will be, again, a second opportunity for discussion. So technically, if you get all your questions out during the presentation, then that part, the discussion part won't be long unless somebody forgets about something. So that's how the next two items are going to go. At this time, Ms. Roberts.
Actually, Ms. Roberts is the next one,
It-
but I
okay.
do have a team of people who are going to help with this presentation. So if they would come up to the mic.
Okay.
So these four people were just a subsection of the calendar committee who volunteered to help with the presentation tonight. We had a large team of well over 30 people, including teachers, principals, and parents from all the levels, as well as activity directors, our teaching, learning, and innovation staff, and human resources staff, and board members and DDL members. So a pretty good cross-section of all grade levels and almost all buildings. We didn't have every elementary represented, but we had quite a few elementary people. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the process, and then I'm going to turn it over to the rest of the committee to talk about our recommendations. So I started by reviewing our past calendar guidelines, which will be shared with you. Then I did some research on student contact days, which will also be shared with you tonight. Once I had that information, I created draft calendars. There were actually 4 of them that I took to the committee the first night. We reviewed, discussed, and revised those calendars as a committee multiple times, and eventually came to consensus on the top 2 calendars. We then took those top 2 calendars to staff and parents for review and feedback. Then as a committee, we looked at all of that feedback and made further refinements to our calendars and came to consensus on the top calendar, which we are presenting to you tonight. If that is approved tonight, we are also recommending that we start the process over in January so that we can work on the calendar for the following year, as we are kind of behind the 8 ball right now, time-wise. So, but we'll talk about that later. For now, I think I'll turn it over to Stephanie Hunter, who will talk about our guidelines that we used for building the school calendar.
My goodness, that's small print for old eyes. So when we look at the registration instructional hours, I'm not going to take the time to read that. Rapid City always hits the hours that are required. That's a given. Oh, thanks. It's good to have friends that help you out.
You need these?
No,
Okay.
not yet. Maybe someday soon. So we've always hit the hours. That wasn't the issue. Rapid City area schools, should back up a little bit. I just wanted to publicly thank Dr. Thompson for pulling this committee together. It is the first time, I believe, that something of this magnitude with this many people has been brought together. There was a lot of robust, exciting conversation on the evenings that we met. But as somebody who has taught from the birth group from birth to 3 all the way through workforce, age 21, there were things that from my high school days when I taught high school that I'd forgotten that certainly came back to, oh, this is there is other things to consider. So it was great to have that cross-reference. So thank you very much for being willing to pull us all together, because any of you have sat in a meeting with 30 different educators, it's very exciting. So, but we got a lot done. So the hours are all there. What Dr. Thompson found out by looking at the largest districts across South Dakota, with the exception of the schools that only have 4 days, Rapid City area schools has the least amount of student contact days. That was something that she wanted to address to start bringing us back in. The average, I believe, is 173.44 days across the state. What she proposed and what the committee supported her in is to increase our student contact days by 2. That came at an exchange of 2 professional development days, because contract days are negotiated as far as how many days are put in, which brings us into the contract days required by the negotiated agreement. We have 3 different sets. we just have three different sets. So if you are new to this district, you put in 180, you give 186 days. If you are a returning staff member, you give 181 days. So those 5 additional days are for development and in-house stuff and having more time to look at curriculum, very needed days. Last year during negotiations, the special education director, Dr. Comer, brought up that she wanted the special education staff to have an additional 2 contract days. So now the special education staff has 183 days. That wasn't a one-time only issue. That was negotiated and it is part of the contract. So that was, these numbers become very important when we started looking at these calendars. That's some of the robust issues. And when one of them talks, I'll probably jump in about calendar A and a compromise that we've had for the special education staff, because it was a very large concern that was brought forward with the calendar. Traditional days off, you can read through all of those. We have a variety of days that we still maintained. The Veterans Day. I don't know why it happened. Okay, we're better. The Veterans Day was probably our biggest area of conversation as far as actually having the day off from school in order to honor and recognize the veterans, especially with the area that we live in, versus looking at what a lot of our schools did do in honor of our veterans, all the different parades, all the different things that were done. So that was something that we took very seriously and looked at all of those different things. Traditions, those of us that have been here longer know that we used to, our semester ended in the middle of January. There's really good rationale why that maybe should be done by the holidays, just because of our secondary students and what's best for them. It isn't always what's best for teachers, but it is what maybe is best for those students. As somebody who gets to negotiate for the certified group and the para educators, looking at the balance and not wanting to, as the students brought up, students and staff are looking forward to having a week off. Yes, yes, we are. Kids are always amazed when they're this size. They're like, you look forward to that too? Yes, yes, we do. So wanting to balance that, but also knowing that there needed to be some compromise and give and take. So that was also something important. And then the conversation that we also had was, if back in the day, we used to only get half of a day on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, for those of you who have been here longer. So we worked Monday, Tuesday, and half of Wednesday. I was like, wow. But we did it. And we all still had turkey apparently and got to wherever we needed to be. So, but looking at that from an educational aspect, and specifically not excluding general education kids, but looking at special education students, when we take a full week off in November, then we bring them back for 2 weeks, which the majority of that is ramping up for Christmas, and there's parties and there's concerts, and it's a phenomenal time of the year. And then we send them home for another 14 to 16 days. It's a lot of loss of learning that we know statistically and research based. It's very hard for some of our students to recover. So looking at what could we do differently, but still balance what we know staff want and what's best for students. So graduation on Memorial Day, that's always an exciting topic as well. Parent-teacher conferences, advocating for those elementary teachers. And I'm not saying that middle school doesn't maybe need a day, because we finally switched to the elementary having an evening and then a full day. That was the biggest gift we could give to elementary teachers in order to meet with all of those parents. It's just been huge, and it is very well appreciated, and it is very well used. So not wanting to lose that opportunity. And then talking to Dr. Strasser, because he's the one who gets to determine when open houses are, and just trying to ensure that those are not on the same nights, because we do have staff that might have students in both or all 3 areas, and making sure they have the opportunity to do to be that staff member, but to also be a parent. So looking at those things, I think the district does a great job about looking at our evening conferences and making sure it's not on the rival game between Central and Stevens. So looking at those things, but knowing that people truly are looking at all the details, and yet understanding we will not always be able to make everybody happy. So that's the background on our school calendar. Thanks for the notes.
I'm going to talk about some snow days. I'm Tiffany Dubai. I'm the principal over at East Middle School.
It probably happened when all that echoing was going on.
Well, okay, we'll pivot here for a sec. So this is some of the data that Dr. Thompson had collected with some of the bigger districts in South Dakota. Kind of looking at their student days and then their total teacher contract days that she kind of talked about in the beginning. And just what the average is, and then where we were on that as well. So snow days will be made up to the extent that is reasonable in order to ensure adequate instruction is provided to students to meet content standards. This will be accomplished by adding a new 2-day break in April that will be used as snow makeup day. So it's at the end of April. If we have snow days before April 1st, we will utilize e-learning or remote learning when feasible. But that notification will be coming noon prior to that snow day if we have enough of heads up. 2 days of the April dates are designated as potential snow makeup days on the calendar. If we have more than the allotted number of snow day makeup days, then the additional snow days will not be made up unless it's necessary, again, to meet the state instructional day requirements. I think some of that might be a little wrong on bullet point number 2, but we'll explain that in the rationale. Snow days after April 1st, these days will not be made up unless it's necessary, again, to meet state instructional day requirements. And then just kind of a side note on this year's 25-26 school calendar that's already in place. We will utilize the e-learning, remote learning on snow days when feasible. And again, notification by noon the day prior. Because snow day makeup days were not included on the calendar, we will not make up snow days when e-learning is not possible unless, again, it's necessary to meet state instructional day requirements.
Are you all done? You need to ask before right now. All right, Mrs. Mrs. Okay.
Just a clarification, because maybe I didn't see the updated calendar. So wasn't there a couple of days built in April? Did we
Yeah,
change
we'll,
that?
we'll get to that on the rationale piece of it. So it's April
23rd and 26th.
Okay.
So it won't, it's kind of like, they'll call it like a second little mini spring break. But that is what will be used to make up those snow days, not into spring break. No. And that was inaccurate on that piece. Yep. Got it.
We received a lot of feedback that people did not want us to take those days off of the existing spring break. So we figured out a way to add a separate break where that could be used as snow day makeup days if needed.
Which would be like a Friday, Monday.
I would suggest you call that an April break, because even after, because a couple times it's been referred to as spring break, we'll do a spring break in April. And then everybody just thinks they're talking about the Easter break, and they don't like it.
All right, let's clap him.
I just had a question, and this may be more for Dr. Thompson, and I had heard previously, like previous to you being here, that there were challenges with the state's requirements on e-learning and like proving, the way it was explained to me is that if we couldn't prove that like 90% of students had been contacted, that it didn't count as an e-learning day. Is that a myth? Is that a thing? I just been told before that that's why we didn't do it, because it could end up being a waste of time, but I don't know how much truth there is to that. So
Jen Roberts and I have reviewed the new guidelines from the state, and it does not appear that that will be a challenge. The one challenge is that it does have to have an electronic component at all grade levels in order for it to count.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So the next piece that I'll talk about as well is our original 4 calendars. So what you'll see there is We kind of labeled them A, B, C, D initially. So the first one that we kind of looked at was calendar A, which had teachers starting on August 12th, which was before the rally ended, which was some concerns as we do have a lot of students and staff that do work the rally, that conflicted with that as well, which would put the student start time August 17th, ending May 20th, and then teachers ending the day after. Calendar B was teachers starting and reporting back August 17th and students starting on August 24th. Student end day there is May 20th and then teachers again the following day. Some of the things that we noticed with those two calendars, there was a lot of similarities. So that's kind of when Dr. Thompson talked about combining. We did end up combining calendar A and B to making one calendar. And then doing the same thing for calendar C and D, just based on some similarities, and kind of taking some of that feedback. So calendar, the August 18th date, teachers starting, students starting back August 25th, students ending May 27th, and then teachers ending May 28th. And then calendar D, just based on some of the feedback, was kind of starting after Labor Day and just kind of where even the rally starts this year and Labor Day starts, it would have teachers starting on September 2nd, and then students starting September 9th, which would be after Labor Day, and then ending June 8th and teachers ending on June 9th. And then we'll kind of talk about how we got to those ones.
So in essence, I created the first calendar to be very similar to what we're using this year. Moved it back a week for the next two calendars. And then for that final calendar, really wanted to show what it would be like if we started after Labor Day to address some of those questions that we hear from the community. This allowed it to be seen in black and white.
I'm Drew Foley, principal at Crowell Drive Elementary. So yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to be on this committee too. It was good work and a good chance to look through all these things through all the different lenses and different grade levels. So this is the recommended calendar that we'll look at. And on here, just to answer the question about the spring recess or spring break, on here it is labeled as no school, possible snow makeup days, the 23rd and 26th. I know it's hard to read there, but we do just have one spring break on here, so that won't be, that should be clear. This is having students start on the 24th. It's a Monday. That's something that we looked at and considered, starting with a 5-day week, but in order to balance our semesters, that was one way that helped get close to as even as we could between first and second semester. We do have the early release Fridays that we talked about. Those are on every month except for January. That will be during Christmas or winter break. We did shorten the consideration with that Thanksgiving break, starting on a Wednesday, so students would come on a Monday, Tuesday. And then same with Christmas and winter break starting on the 23rd. So students would come to school on the 21st and 22nd. We are going to look and see, the question came up about attendance on those short, like 2-day weeks. And so we will look and monitor that to see if that's something that's okay moving forward, or if we need to reconsider and stick with like a 3-day week instead of 2. So that was brought up, and we'll track and monitor that as we, if this is approved. We have the workday coming back after winter break on that Tuesday, with students returning on a Wednesday, so a 3-day week to start the second semester. And then the orange days, let me back up to that one in November. It's a Tuesday. It is election day. And I think we have a governor race next year. And so we have a number of buildings that have polling places in the building. And so I believe last year we did the same thing and had that as a PD day. And so it's just staff and the building. And so the 3rd of November would be a PD day. And I know we have a couple buildings where it works during the school day to have students there, but most of our polling places that are classroom or buildings do not work well for that scenario. So January and February, we've got a couple more of the PD days. kind of paired up with a holiday, a Monday holiday. And so those are a couple 3-day weeks. And then our spring break falls with Good Friday and Easter with the same Monday off after. And then when we get into April, that's where the 2 additional days, a long weekend for the snow day makeup days if needed. And that's if there's snow days before April 1st. And then our last day of school would be the Wednesday, I think the 26th, with a half day for staff after. I believe we're looking at graduation the week before, not Memorial Day.
Right.
Correct?
May 23rd.
Yep. Any questions just looking, I know it's hard to see. Any questions just looking at that proposed calendar? Or anything else that I missed, everyone?
Ms. Clapham?
I really just want to bother Mr. Foley. I'm kidding. But no, I did just wonder, and I'm partially saying this for the public. I know like when you look at, I think 81 and 89 days, is part of that reasoning because there's so many testing days in the second semester that aren't truly instructional days?
That is part of, yeah, and for sure at the middle and elementary level, it takes up at least 3-4 days. Yep, and so that's where we have a little more wiggle room, even though they're not completely even. And so that does help balance it a little bit more, yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Rafferty?
So, the graduation date is a week before when students get out. This is a question I had from a parent, and so when child graduates, or senior graduates, do they come back and take their finals? Or do they take finals a week before graduation?
They will take their finals a week before graduation. So we won't have an actual final schedule for those seniors, and we've done this in the past. So this is not the first time. I've been here since 07, 08. This is not the first time. Oh, again, I'm sorry. I'm Stevens High School, Jocelyn Hafner principal. It was Jersey Day today. This was the dressiest one I could find. And a little flashy, but we've done this before. And so it really has, it is a little bit of a difficult task because one things that we consider is that we have a lot of classes at the high school level that are mixed, grades 11 and 12, grades 10 through 12. And so those are things that, again, we have a good plan in place. We've done it before. And so, but yes, you are correct. The reason that we wanted to go May 23rd instead of Memorial Day is because we've also had a lot of feedback on Memorial Day weekend and families asking for it not to be on that holiday, as well as the state track meet has been a very difficult thing for, my own child went through that. Thank goodness we had the track meet in Rapid on that year. And so we were able to do everything, but now our state track is always in Sioux Falls. So it's never going to be in this region. And so that makes it difficult for those students as well. So those were some of the reasons why we moved it to May 23rd.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Zervich?
Along those lines, Ms. Hafner, I had a question about the graduation times and the reasoning there. Just some people expressing concern as their churches hold certain recognitions for graduation, for graduates at that day as well.
So this has actually been quite a few years in the making. We had requested it before. No one really is concerned about the 1 o'clock time. That's a great time. And if we could both have Central and Stevens at that time, I think the community would be very happy. However, because we have to do it because of the setup, tear down, all of those things, we have to have a large time in between. And so the 5 o'clock is a very difficult thing for families to have gatherings after. It's just, so we actually talked to our students and our staff as well as our parents, and the feedback that we received is that they would like it moved up. But prior to that, we also contacted, and I don't have the list in front of me, and it's also been a year since we've done it. We did contact local churches to ask for the times, and so that we could make sure. That's why we started at, I'm gonna go with 11. Right? So I know I'm the late one this year, so that one's not my time. So we did check with community churches to make sure that they would have multiple services. And so it would not run into that 11 o'clock time.
All right, any questions, other questions that?
You have a couple more slides.
Oh, we do. Continue.
Yeah, you're having fun, right? Yeah. one of the factors that we looked at was the rally. A lot of our employees and our community, of course, work during the rally. It's a big part of our income to the area, to the Black Hills. So having a later start date compared to what we've been the last couple of years, and the rally starting later with the calendar how it is, that was part of the rationale. We talked about the teachers and wanting longer breaks, but then also balancing that with parents and classified staff who don't get paid during those breaks. So trying to look at both of those things. I talked about election day. I talked about our early dismissal days as well every month, and Thanksgiving break. Christmas, I think it says Christmas shortened, or maybe that's, yeah, okay, there it is. Yep, to allow the 3-day, coming back to 3 days. At one point, we had 2 days coming back. They were gonna come back on a Thursday. And so we had adjusted that a little bit. So students are coming back on a Wednesday after winter break. And then our April 23rd and 26th are those, we won't call it a mini spring break. We'll just say it's just a long weekend in April for snow day makeup days if needed. And yeah, we talked about graduation. So I think those have been covered.
And then we did just want to provide you a few other things, and what we found that high school level really does drive a lot of this calendar. And so I was really thankful that I also got to hear the perspective on early release from elementary perspective on all of those areas. But we do know that with this, there were some priorities that ensured that semester one concluded before Christmas break. And so that was the real reason why we wanted to start on that August 24th date, was so that we could end that semester. I'm not sure if you're all aware of this, but this is the first year, this school year, that we are now we're putting the first semester grades on the transcript, even if it was a year-long class. So English 9 used to be a year-long class, and now it is English 9A and English 9B. And so at the end of semester one, before Christmas, we will take that student's grade and we will put it on the transcript. Why this is so important, I found out that we are one of the only districts maybe in the country who has been using the year long. And so what we've received a lot of feedback from our parents and our students about how beneficial it is that they have those grades transcripted so that they can do college admission and scholarship. So it's so important that we do have our break at Christmas be the end of the semester. So that was one of the reasons why we did need to move that date up to August 24th. The other thing that it really matters is that we're looking at the alignment of fall dual credit classes that run, this year they run starting August 25th. So if we start later, we've already got kids that we hold dual enrollment classes on our campus. So we wanted to look at how can we fit all of that together? And just some stats for you. We have at Stevens 400 classes this fall alone in dual enrollment, students that are in, as well as at Central 230. So it does impact a lot of our students. Also, we wanted to make sure that for AP, it was important for our advanced placement students that we start early enough, because they, in the first week and actually 2 weeks, they take their AP exams. And so if we start later, they don't receive as much instruction on that material. And so that was another reason why we wanted to start earlier, August 24th. I know you can see that fall sports begin August 3rd. At the high school level, we really never shut down. They make us shut down for about a week in July, but otherwise our students and staff are rocking and rolling all throughout the entire school year and summer with camps and those types of things, band, sports, all of that. So that was another reason why, just earlier school starts helps balance the academic calendar while supporting athletic and semester equity. The other thing that I think is really important before we do questions is that we surveyed staff. We surveyed a lot of buildings, surveyed their staff, and 65% of the staff voted for this calendar. We gave them two choices, 65% voted for this. In my building alone, 71% chose calendar A. So I think it's important that, that we also look at the feedback that we received from staff, students, and parents.
Before we go to questions, the other piece I wanted to add in on the other, speaking as that special education having 2 extra days on their contract. This year, the intent for 25-26 was that those 2 days were spent prior to the rest of the staff coming back. Dr. Comer gave us an option because that came out so late during negotiations, because it did impact Raleigh. It is my understanding through our committee and talking with Dr. Thompson, it was very, very clear from the special education staff that starting on August 17th, the special education staff have to come back those 2 days. The understanding that we talked about as a committee and with Dr. Thompson, and she talked to Dr. Comer, is while the special education staff will adhere to the 2 days, when those 2 days are given, we'll have some flexibility or be optional. Special education staff, like at this time of the year, having a week off for Thanksgiving, I can tell you that easily 25% of us could work next Monday and we'd be not done with what needed to be done. Coming back before the general education staff, the intent was really good, and the thought process was good, but if there are not building-wide schedules, then as a special education staff, I can't build my schedule of when I'm going to be pulling students. So the time is extremely valuable, the time is needed, but it is our understanding and agreement that those will not be required prior to the general education staff coming back, because that would interrupt anybody who works the rally or has rented their house out for the rally or something like that. The time will be given, and I have no doubt Dr. Comer will figure out how that will be tracked. But that was an important piece for the special education staff starting on a Monday.
All right, board, any questions for the presenters? Mrs. Stephenson.
Not a question, just a comment. Dr. Thompson, you said that we're a little we're a little late to do this. And I just wanted to state that that was, I think, the board's request last year. We wanted to be sure that we gave you a chance to have some input building the calendar for the district that you were gonna be, that you're serving. And I think I'm really glad that we did, because I feel like if nothing else, we know more about the development of the calendar and what went into it, and we can have better conversations with people about it when they ask us questions, and you all do too. There's the whole 30-person committee is now full of knowledge and able to answer questions, which helps with understanding and helps with people's satisfaction. So very appreciative of the process, and just didn't want everybody listening to think, boy, they're really behind them all. We're just doing it right.
Any other questions? I want to have an appreciation, Dr. Thompson, for your leadership in this process. As Mrs. Hunter said, being on the board 5 years, my knowledge of the construction of the calendar was limited with the superintendent and maybe a few other people, and it was just presented to the district and to the board. So this collaborative effort seems to work well, and people appreciated it, enjoyed that. So thank you for your leadership in that. Those of you that are here as presenters, I think one of the things that aren't appreciated is that the extra time that you all spend in doing things that are outside your technical job description. And I appreciate the effort that you all did, and those other on the committees that may be listening. It is appreciated. And again, it comes to a better understanding and a calmer understanding. And again, as been said 1,000 times, the outside of the 65%, but we can only have one calendar. And so I think you guys did an awesome job in the work and putting this all together, and it makes sense to me. So, all right. Any other statements? Moving on. I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed staff and student learning calendars.
I'll motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed staff and student learning calendars. Any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion. All in favor of approving the presented calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes, please say no. Okay. Motion approves. Thank you, everyone. All right, at this time, let's have a 3-minute break. Yeah, this report's gonna be, I'm sure, a little bit lengthy, so let's take a 3-minute break and we'll come back. This one? Yeah. Yeah, I could have been. And see, I was talking to, who was that I was talking about? Oh, Angela called me and was worried about all the other. Okay. Okay, that's no problem. That's no problem. You know, based on the comments that I thought it was gonna be a room full of people with all blah, 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 and nobody even mentioned it, so. I had to also about it. And I was, until I called Jamie, I was like, well, I am a little salty that we are in school on Veterans Day and out on Halloween. So even when that comes out, I'm feeling some type of way, and then this Halloween was a unique situation. Look at these cookies.
And I'm like, oh.
No, HIV. Oh, and they have oatmeal raisin. Oatmeal raisin. These look like oatmeal raisin.
Yeah, for sure.
Look.
I agree.
Do you?
Yes, I do. Everyone always says that they're sad they're not chocolate chips.
I love oatmeal raisin.
Yeah, I love them.
Oatmeal raisin is great, and so they're always chewy.
Oatmeal one.
Oatmeal chocolate chip is the best.
Oatmeal chocolate chip.
Oh, yeah. I don't really like the little chewy raisins. I have oatmeal raisins good too. I think you're underrated.
Yeah, they're oatmeal raisin.
Yeah, they got the.
Yeah. White chocolate macadamia. Mm-hmm.
Can't forget combo like. You get that already?
No.
Oh, you have a.
Okay.
Right, pull it out before I ran.
Okay. Come around. Then. I don't know about what. Because like. But I guess really, this is probably a harder question. I think so, for sure. Yeah, it's so interesting. Did you watch the whole trial? No, just like. I was there for a good chunk of the murder portion, but not the exam. We haven't had an insanity trial for decades, like nobody remembers. Oh, real nation. Yeah. And I'm, it's Mass Bureau, we chatted about it. Oh,
But it has to be the monster, because there are little habits in it, so I
Oh.
have to choose.
Yep, I would agree.
Could you fish?
Not a big raisin fan.
Yeah. If it was cookies.
Yes.
Chocolate chips in there for Scotch.
Yes, see now I love it and try oatmeal chocolate chip.
No, it's been.
Here's a little, I can don't remember. Yeah, that's it. How do you feel about that? I love.
I only like.
You're that
peanut
person.
garnish. So, anything else?
I love that, I just wanna eat that, and then I wanna eat my bacon.
Hey,
Salty with a side.
So easy. No, it's just.
Okay, so
I don't like either.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the opposite, HSP, right, so you go. Probably go next step. I would go for her. Not at all. Not at all. That's good. What's your, oh, your son is still in.
Oh, I know, and.
He's at South. Where?
Yeah.
I'll go. All right. Well, Corey and Corey are out, but hey. All right. Ms. Roberts,
Okay.
we're waiting.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Jennifer Roberts. I am the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Innovation. And I am sharing this information as student achievement is part of the student pillar. Our state report card is a reflection of our system. Please keep that in mind as we go through the data. The information is a picture of what our system was last year. This data is what we call lagging data. It's kind of like an autopsy because it gives us information after the fact. And I will tell you about how we are changing our system for better coherence and alignment based on some of the things that we see in this data. Here, if you would just take a look, this is the purpose of the presentation, and it is the same as it is kind of every year when this presentation is given. So if you just want to take a minute and look that over.
Ms. Roberts, can I trouble you? Can we get it full screen? Or
For me to be able to share it this way, I cannot. I am so sorry.
Right.
Yep, part of
Right.
the benefits of Zoom.
Okay, all right.
Yep, yep. I know, I tried to do it with the Zoom, with the presentation, but it wouldn't let me.
No.
So you need a.
Give it to the kid before bed.
I'm just gonna make that small for a second, sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we try it? Sure.
There's literally nobody.
Nope.
No, that's fine. Don't,
Okay.
we can look at it another way. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Let me, oh, no, there we go. Okay, good. Excellent. So, all right. So all of this, our data source is the South Dakota Department of Education, and this is what they have on our public report card, and it is available for all of the public schools in South Dakota. It's reported out on their website. This is our district-wide ELA proficiency, and this is for our grades 3 through 8 and grade 11. And this is our proficiency for ELA. This is the composite score for our 14 elementary schools for grades 3, 4, and 5. And you can see what our data has looked like since 2019. Here is our elementary schools in grades 3, 4, and 5, and you can see our data year over year. And one of the things that is really helpful about this one is if you'll look, if you start in 2023 at 3rd grade, and you can see that percentage, and then you go in a diagonal to 2024 in 4th grade, you are following the same students. And then if you look at 2025 5th grade, so you can see those students increasing every year. They're growing. And then if you look in 2024 at our students that are in 3rd grade and look at their score, and then in 2025 at our 4th graders, again, you can see those students growing, and those are the same students year over year. So that's where we can really see one group of students and follow where they are at. In 2025, that top group, the 3rd grade, that's the first time those 3rd graders have taken the test. This is our breakdown by ethnicity. These are not our only groups, but all of our other groups are 10 students or less, and the state does not report out on those because it would be possible to identify individual students knowing that that's what that subgroup is at. Our groups, especially multiracial, Black and Asian, are fairly small given the size of our district. And so you'll see that there is a lot of variation in those groups year over year, because when you have a group of a smaller size, 40 or less, a few students one way or another really causes that to swing, and those numbers change quite a bit too. This is our elementary schools native and non-native student percentage. And these are students, the families, they self-report and choose what they put in there. Here is our ELA proficiency in the elementary schools, our poverty and non-poverty percentages. Poverty are the students that we have confirmed did apply for free and reduced lunch and qualified for free and reduced lunch. And this one, our students with a disability and our students without disability. Students with a disability are currently on an IEP. They have an individualized education plan. Again, these are for all 14 elementary schools for grades 3, 4, and 5. Then we go for our ELA to our composite middle school, and this is for grades 6, 7, and 8 at all 5 middle schools. And this is ELA. Looking again at our students, if you go to 2023, 6th grade, then you can follow those students to 2024 when they're in 7th grade and in 2025 to when they're in 8th grade. And you can see year over year that our students are growing. If you go to year 2025, 6th grade, and then follow it in a diagonal to 2024, 6th grade, I hope I said that right, and then 2025 to 7th grade, again, you can see that is the same group of students and that year over year we are seeing growth. This is the breakdown of our middle school students by ethnicity. Again, this is what is self-reported. Our groups in multiracial, Black and Asian are smaller groups, typically 40 or fewer, but it is more than 10. We do have other subgroups and they are 10 or less, and those are not reported out because it would be possible to identify students.
Yes, Mr. Urban.
Just a quick question. So as we're seeing growth then diagonally, is it fair to say that the kids that are coming in are lower than like those kids? Because
Right, how are we seeing growth and yet seeing smaller numbers? And it is when we are having for example, when we were looking at the elementary, those fifth graders that left and our new students, or not fifth grade, the eighth graders that left, and then our new group that came in, yes, it is adding that into the mix. And then here at our high school or at our middle school, it's kind of the same thing. It's as groups leave and come in, it's with the new students in the mix. This is our middle school native and non-native. It was in the previous slide, but this is just kind of a closer look at that. And then this is our middle school poverty and non-poverty. And our middle school students with disabilities and students without disabilities. And this is our composite for our 11th grade. And composite, we're talking that we have all of our high schools together. It is only 11th grade. And this one is always a little tricky because we do not test them in 9th grade or 10th grade. And this is a completely different group of students. So they have nothing in common with the students that we tested the year before, other than they attend the same schools. But it is a group of entirely new students. If the student was a repeat student, if they repeated 11th grade, they would not test again. So 100% new group of students. Those are our ELA. This is our high school ELA proficiency by ethnicity.
How is ELA measured? Because it's going to be measured with ATTs. And this is still.
It will be measured with ACTs, and this is on the South Dakota Achievement Test. And so this report from the state at this point is that South Dakota Achievement Test, like I'm saying, that we give to 3rd grade through 8th grade every year. And then there's a brief gap, and then we give it to 11th grade.
And will we continue to give this?
We will not. This is the last year that we are giving the South Dakota Achievement Test. Next year, this year actually, everyone in the state is giving the ACT to all of their 11th graders. We have been doing it for a while, so we have a better idea of how we're going to perform on that.
Oh, so we'll have past performance. Just
We will.
not all students.
We will have past performance, and we have nearly all students, but we don't push the same way to get 100% of them. Because it was information for us, where there is a requirement in this for us to test all students. It's actually, I think, in codified law or in one of the rules. And if we are not testing, again, if we don't test 95% of them at least, whatever's in our gap between where we hit and the 95%, then that impacts our calculations as well. So.
Is this the SBAC?
It used to be called the SBAC, and now it's called the South Dakota Achievement. And a lot of us, we still call it SBAC sometimes, but that is the test. Yes, ma'am. So, this is high school native and non-native students. I do want you to understand that last year when we talked about this, we talked about so many students that we were not testing, and the schools worked really, really hard on getting to that 95%. So I do feel like this is a more accurate reflection for us this year, because we know that we hit the mark of 95% or better, and last year we did not. So we really weren't sure on some of that. This is high school poverty versus non-poverty, and this is, again, our ELA. our students with disabilities, and our students without. And this is our district-wide for math. So this is grades 3 through 8 and grade 11. So you can take a look at where that line is fairly flat. This is the composite for our elementary schools. This is grades 3, 4, and 5 for all 14 buildings. Again, looking at our students, and if you go to 2023 for third grade, and then 2024 for fourth grade, and 2025 for fifth grade, you can see that we are seeing a slight decline in our math. And then if you look at 2024 third grade and 2025 for fourth grade, you can follow that along and you can see that cohort of students, and we're looking at the same students roughly testing year over year. Here you can see our elementary schools, our students by ethnicity. This is part of where you see some more variation in some of those subgroups that have smaller numbers. You can see our elementary schools, native and non-native students, same information that was in the previous slide. You can see our elementary schools students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, and the rest of our students that may not have even applied. Our elementary students with disabilities and elementary students without. Our composite for math at the middle school for grades 6, 7, and 8 for all 5 middle schools combined. Again, you can see that that line is fairly flat. Looking at this, when you look at our 6th grade students in 2023, and then you track them as 7th graders in 2024, and then as 8th graders in 2025, we do see students making growth. In 2024, when we look at 6th grade, and then in 2025, when we look at them as 7th graders, and we see again that we do see students making growth. We see our middle school students by ethnicity. These are not comparing students year over year, it's just flat what it is on that average. You can see our middle school students, native and non-native. Our middle school students, poverty and non-poverty. Our middle school students with a disability and students without. This is our composite high school for math, and composite just in its combining our high schools, Central and Stevens, with students that are also in other programs, including at Eagles Path and virtual. And you can see what that looks like for math. Here are those students broken down by ethnicity. Native and non-native. Again, this year or last year, the year we're talking about, we did push really hard and had more students testing. We got to that 95% mark or above at all of our schools. More with the high school comparison. Another high school comparison. This one is looking at our high school cohort graduation rate. And this is the students that enter high school and graduate within 4 years. Our high school completer rate is 85%. So that's students that finish in some way within 5 years. That includes our students that earn GEDs or that graduate fully with a high school diploma, some of them after that 4-year mark. For our graduates, by ethnicity. Some of the next steps that we have to talk about are here. Let me find my notes so I know I'm talking about the right things. As I pointed out, our teachers are helping our students grow. They're working very hard and we're seeing them do good work. They need us to make sure that our system is better aligned and more coherent so that they can be supported in meaningful ways in order to impact student achievement. When looking at our leading data mid-year last school year, we could see that some of these results were coming up that would be looking like this. And so we started prepping to address some of the needs before we even ended the school year last year. Looking at the data at the building and classroom levels, starting last school year, we were able to see a very clear pattern telling us that student achievement is impacted by our struggle to find highly qualified teachers. Because of that, we began planning, targeting professional development. This year, before school even started, we implemented our plan and that work is ongoing. We've had more consistent staffing at the middle school and the high school level, and I believe that is reflected in our data as well. We used professional learning sessions in May, in July, and in August, and the current work of our professional learning community across the district is to gain clarity on what we want students to know and to be able to do. Research shows that has an effect size of 0.81, I believe. Anything that is above a 0.4 is considered a year's worth of growth. And so we believe a lot in what the research shows about how important that is. So that's been a lot of our focus of our PLC work this school year.
Can you clarify?
Yeah.
So the PLC work in and of itself has an effect size of 0.81 or?
Clarity on what students are learning. And so that's been the focus of our PLC work and making sure that our teachers fully understand their standards, that they've identified using the real protocol on what those priority standards should be, and that they're unpacking those to the target level with rigor. And we've had some groups say, we didn't realize to what level of rigor we should be teaching this standard. We're going to be doing it differently. And so those are some of the things that we're seeing come out of that. It will take time, but that is something that research shows has a good effect on student learning. So that's part of the work that we're doing. As far as junior kindergarten, as our ELA scores that we do take as leading data measures with Acadience, in kindergarten this year, our ELA or literacy reading scores are the highest that they've been since we started giving that test in 8 years. Our first grade tied for the highest year since we started giving the test. So we are seeing some nice things, which partially we do attribute to junior kindergarten. With our K-12 ELA resource adoption, we know that our teachers need quality materials for them to be able to use for that instruction. And a part of that is having what's in there for them to rely on so that they are not having to create every single lesson and just start everything from scratch. For some of our groups, particularly for the high school, it's been 2 cycles. So it's around 15 years since they've had new materials. In addition, we were awarded the literacy grant, and we're going to be doing a lot of work with that will be impacting our literacy instruction and we believe our ELA scores. For math, we are also focused on PLC work that is ongoing. We saw the same thing with our scores in kindergarten and first grade, showing that impact with junior kindergarten. We have only been giving the Acadience math assessment for our kindergarten for, I believe, 5 years. And it is still the highest score that we've had so far, seen at the start of kindergarten. And it is tied for the highest score we've ever had for first grade. There are new math standards that are currently under review by the state. And so we do have a secondary resource adoption at the secondary level coming up for math for middle school and high school soon. Reveal Math was recently adopted for the elementary, so it's not time to redo that. But we can see that we do need to put some work into making sure that there is clarity around that resource and that teachers have everything they need to be able to use it well. We do continue our work with math teacher leaders. For example, Leah Oxner, who is on the, in our department in TLI, meets regularly with the math leadership on our elementary level. She does some work with middle school level, and there's some book studies going on. There's a variety of things that are happening to help support math. So, any questions?
Mrs. Urban.
So I think it's clear that junior K is like trajectory changing. So those changes, like when you see the growth at third, fourth, fifth, then are you seeing a drop like once they hit sixth? Or is it those transition years that seem to be really the issue?
Yes, commonly they are at the transition years. And is that attributed to the fact that they're switching schools, they're learning a new system? You know, there's a lot of reasons that are given for that. But yes, we do see that, and that is seen, I would say, nationwide or even worldwide.
I mean, I think the math stuff is pretty concerning, but it is encouraging to see that growth that's happening. But it's also concerning to see that where our kids are coming in is lower, which I think just kind of lends itself to the importance of junior K or preschool.
Yeah.
Ms. Clacking.
I'm just wondering, I don't know what you call it necessarily, but obviously we see the significant achievement gaps between certain groups, particularly our Native students. However, I noticed in a couple of years, like the gap shrunk considerably. So I'm wondering, like, have we gone back and dug into what happened? Like, I think that, I think it was like in 2021 and 2024 in high school ELA, the gap went from like here to here. So something had, I mean, obviously they're different students, I get that.
Yeah.
But that's still significant. So I just wonder, do we have the capability to go back and be like, what was going on? What were we doing that gap was so much smaller? Cause that's hugely concerning to me. And I think about from a just socially at school, I think about bullying, I think about all the things that, like, when you have gaps like that, like what it can create environmentally. So do you know, like, have we looked into like what helped shrink those gaps or what was happening, looking retrospectively?
I haven't looked at that, and I don't know who would have the historical view on that. It's a time before I was in this position, but certainly there are questions that we can ask. Yeah.
Mr. Swan.
I'll say it. I'm tired of seeing the gap. I am.
Yeah.
Today, I had the privilege of attending a conference with our superintendent today. Had a wonderful day, and then we heard from the sheriff. We talked about the overpopulation of his jail. We talked about the overpopulation of his juvenile facilities. We talked about how he is increasingly becoming more Native American. And the part about that is that when we started to look at it, you start to look at causation. Are we fitting the bill for this pipeline to prison that everyone keeps talking about? Are we doing that unnecessarily? I mean, are we also looking at our data for discipline, making it difficult for natives to come to school? We really have to dig deep into this, guys. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I've been an educator all my life. I've got the training for it. I've got all of the certifications. I still carry a South Dakota teacher certificate. I don't know. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but geez, man, what do we need to do? I mean, our public schools have been called systematic for this pipeline. I've been to those meetings. It's a difficult conversation to sit in this seat and have that directed, and I don't have an answer. And it appears we don't have an answer.
No, I would say, student discipline. I'm sorry. Yeah.
This is a mostly charged deal for me. I mean, really, I'm a Central grad. I went all the way through this. I'm a kid from poverty. I'm one of these guys. How do we make this happen for our native students? So I'm not attending I mean, it's cool to see over 100 grads really at the graduation ceremony. God bless us, you know what I mean? But the thing about it is when it only represents 30% of the kids, 70% failure rate. That's on us. That's not on anybody else. I own that too. I haven't even completed my 3rd year of service on this board. And I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I want something different. I would like to see that. I love that idea of going back to see what worked. I love going back to see what has worked for us in the past. But right now, it's just not, you go back to 2020, there isn't a lot that's worked for us. So what do we make work for us? How do we bring in somebody that has knowledge of this? There's studies about this. I mean, we've got to do something different. If we don't do something different, I mean, we're gonna be dealing with the sheriff's statistics for the next 10 years. And you know, it just appears that this pipeline is gonna continue to grow. What it looked like from the 3rd grade to the 4th grade to the 5th grade, it doesn't shrink. That number doesn't shrink. We can make up all the excuses. President Carr, I would ask for a task force on this. I mean, I know you had that in mind when I first started. And I really would enjoy sitting on something like that to come up with a solution. I know absenteeism, I know transitional life. I know all of that. But I really, really need to say we're working on it. Because right now we haven't done anything. And I know that was a big deal when I was first running for this, when I was first running for school board. We had a task force and it was dropped. And everybody pointed to everybody else. Superintendent left, board changes, all of this stuff. Doesn't matter. We're still not doing the right things for the first inhabitants of this land. I'm sorry. This is it. 30% of our district. 30% of our district is what we make up now. And then we can say 70% of them aren't gonna make it. Answer me that. I mean, we can talk about this all you want, but geez, man, action steps, please, task force, please, bring it back. Bring something back. At least we have a focus. If you focus on reading scores get better. If you focus on math scores get better. If you focus on Native Americans, maybe they'll get better. Maybe we will get better. But we just have not had that focus. We have not said, yes, let's do something about this. That's from 3 years on this board, man. And 3 years of a report card. 3 years of a report card. Nothing has happened. I can see your tongue blue in the face, but I'm simply saying, let's make it a focus. Let's do something different. Because obviously the changes we're making, we can point to leadership changes in the district. We can point to change of assessment. We can point to change of whatever, but we're not doing it for the Native students in this district. Thank you.
Before I call on you, Ms. Rafferty, Dr. Thompson, do you have any initial ideas or thoughts on Mr. Swan's statement of what? I don't even know how to ask the question, but do you have any thoughts on how we move forward?
Well, we have a lot of good things in place, but they have not been fully implemented, partially because of our staffing issue. We don't have the interventionists in place that we need to meet individually and in small groups with kids because we've had to pull them and put them into classrooms. So that's part of the issue. But as far as junior kindergarten, that is what research says is early childhood learning is where you're going to see the most return on your investment for all students and particularly minority students. And then the science of reading, that early literacy push. So I think focusing on those are going to be huge. But if we need to do a task force, we can do that. They're going to point a lot to that and to family engagement.
Right. Mrs. Rafferty.
I have to agree with Walt on a lot of things, and if we do put together a task force, I would like to be on that, only because I did work in the district at the time when our test scores were really high. We had other states, other towns coming and observing our classrooms and asking us, what are you guys doing that's working? Walt and I have been there, and I truly believe we're on the right track. We have a literacy grant. We're looking at a new reading curriculum. We also need to look at our professional development. We can have all these things, but we have to make professional development meaningful again to educators. And maybe offer college credits so that the teachers are excited to work towards this. We've got some really smart teachers and really good teachers, but we need the good professional development. And I think if we develop a task force, we can help improve those scores for our community and be the educators we once were. But apparently what we're doing is it's not working, and we should look outside the box.
Okay, Ms. Urban.
As Walt was talking, I was thinking how we can't do this work in a vacuum, that we have to see what other entities are doing, the city, the county, law enforcement, because we have to all go in the same direction, right? It's bigger than just the school district. It's a societal, it's an issue in our community. So I think if there is any sort of task force, we need to look outside of just our district.
Okay, Ms. Moore.
Just for frame of reference, because I'm ignorant about all of this, but when we see it in the 40s and 50s, is that the sweet spot? Is that where we want to be? I have no frame of
No,
reference.
that is not where we want to be.
Where do we?
Absolutely not.
What
We want to be as high as we could possibly be. We'd like to be over 80% minimum.
Okey-dokey.
That doesn't ever, I mean, I've never seen that happen. I mean, yes, that would be great.
That's still what we want.
I think that would
Yeah.
be great, but it's not, I mean,
Yeah.
even if you look at national scores, like this year was not great, but a lot of times that's kind of where districts are at, is in that middle range. Not that it's great.
Ms. Clapham.
Really brief, I know, and strange to sound, I guess it's great that I know a lot of us are really struggling with this, and this is not pleasant. I just think very briefly, and I've had in different committee meetings with Dr. Thompson, and just, I guess just throwing out there as a board, Dr. Thompson has pointed out, and as a board, we have to do hard things. And we all know when we talk about class size, when we talk about small group instruction, like we know how impactful. So we do, as we sit here, and obviously I'm not saying like, go home and solve a problem, but we have to all sit and think about like, what are we willing, budget wise, resource wise, what are we willing to do to recruit and keep the staff that we need? And it might be hard. It might be financially hard. It might be, but I don't think, like, we kind of don't have a choice. We know that that's like, these students need more support and they cannot get it without the staff. And so I think we just all need to reflect on, what are we willing to do? What are we willing to ask administration to do? What are they, I think they need to know that, tell us the hard stuff. Tell us it's going to cost us this much, and okay, fine. Well, we have to figure out how to make it happen. Fine. But I think we just have to, like, it's kind of a cheesy, like, we can do hard things and we're gonna have to do hard things. I think there's no way around that. And so I just think as a board, we really need to sit with as individuals in leadership session, like, what are we willing to do for the rubber to meet the road and say, we are investing to make this happen.
Right, Mrs. Stephenson.
It's hard to sit as a board and listen and read these statistics. I mean, we do this every year. Every year, it's hard because I also would like to be above 80% at a minimum. To me though, this year, I look at this and compare it to the rest of the state and I'm like, what happened? What happened? And you can't answer that. You weren't here last year. And there was just, and I am a person who will cheerlead this district to no end. And I will say, we take what society gives us. This is not the district in itself had a bad year, but it's hard to listen and then to have 2 slides that say, we got this, PLC, little more junior kindergarten, we're gonna do some new literary and don't worry about it, we got it. It seems like someone should be more fired up about this. I mean, we are, and yes, we should be losing sleep over the results with our Indigenous community who are our neighbors and our friends and so vital to the vitality of this community that we live in. It's extremely difficult. I think I'd like to hear, I agree, Jamie, I think you made a really good point that there are hard things. The analogy that a friend of mine gave is if my kid is failing math and English, I'm not gonna let him do gymnastics, I'm not gonna let him do whatever it is. And if our district is failing, are there things that we need to say, we can't do that? We have bigger fish to fry. And then what are all the ramifications of making those hard decisions? It is not easy, and I'm not blaming anybody. But I also, can we get junior kindergarten in every school next year? Because apparently it really works and we're gonna be relying on it. We're listing that as one of the things that can turn this ship around, or at least right it a few direct degrees to get it above 50%. Can we do that? Can we be assured that the science of reading is going to be implemented with uniformity across the district next year? So there's not inconsistencies in how our literacy is being taught. I'm excited about the new math curriculum. Can we be assured that it's going to be implemented, that our teachers are going to be using those resources the way that they should, and that they know how to teach this curriculum? Because as a parent, sometimes I'm not sure how to interpret it when it comes home, but I'm doing my best. But I think I want a little more than a list of hey, we got this PLC. PLC has been happening in this district for years. That's not an answer to me. And I'm looking at you because you did the presentation. Yeah. I know there are more that went in, but that's not an answer to me when you see these scores that are going down every single year. Well, we're gonna do PLC. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not sufficient.
All right, are you at the end of your presentation? Okay,
Yeah.
So any other questions or comments?
I would just say nobody's happy about it. Nobody likes it. I know that the classroom teachers aren't happy about it. I know the building administrators. I know in this building, nobody is satisfied. Nobody thinks this is okay. We are looking at parts, we're looking at, is our system designed to really support it so that we can make the changes? Because we know every individual is giving all they have. So is it in different parts that are in alignment and coherence? And, what is it that we really can change and that we do need to think outside of the box? I know PLCs and talking about what we're doing with the standards. maybe doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It is something that, I think, took some teachers and administrators by surprise, and they're like, this seems a little scary. We're not sure about this work, but if we kept doing it the same way we were doing it, that's not enough for us. So that's part of saying, okay, we're gonna take a chance on doing this and see if we get some improvement, because doing it the way we have been isn't working. So while maybe it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, we've had quite a bit of training on it. And like I said, we've had people say like, are you sure this, we don't know about this. This seems kind of scary. It seems like a big deal. We don't know if this is the right thing. But doing what we were doing wasn't working. So there are pieces that we're taking some pretty big chances on, because it is that important and we care that much.
Dr. Oh, where'd your hand go? Dr. Strasser.
Director Roberts said a lot of things there. I also concur with the sentiment in the room. I think we can't obviously be satisfied with the direction that we're seeing in our scores here, and what that means when we think about our kids and how they go through our system, and how they then go into society and our community. I did want to clarify, it's not just PLC, it's the work that's being done in the PLC. And we've made intentional efforts to try and improve how we collaborate and what that looks like, and how the leaders in our buildings can work with collaborative teams to improve how they look at data, to improve the instruction. So all those pieces have to come together, and we've made some investments, as Director Roberts noted, in May and in July and August, to work that way. And I think we question, are we investing in the right work? And we know that PLCs and collaborative teams have a high effect size according to the research, but are we doing the right work within them? And I think those are internal questions that we have to process and take the comments that we've heard tonight and really look at the things that we're trying to improve upon and move and communicate to you all, and to work with our leaders and our teachers. So there's a lot that definitely goes into that, and that self-reflective piece and how we move internally should move us as you all indicated.
Can I follow up with that? So what degree turn do you think the district took this year? I'm going to ask you, Dr. Strasser, because you were leading the district last year. But between last year and this year, how different is our approach to educating kids and to helping teachers do their jobs?
You know, I wouldn't say we're drastically different. I think that's when Director Roberts talks about how are we really looking at our learning system? Do we have a highly effective learning system, and what does that look like in practice? So I think we made a lot of efforts last year to start having better communication, and that's when you hear me talk about rounding. So how do we hear better from our parents, better from our employees, and better from our students, and how do we take actions based on that feedback? Well, does that feedback directly impact student achievement? It may or may not. We don't know. We can say some things might. We can say some things are about bettering the culture in the buildings or improving a certain process. So that's the holistic piece of what we learn and how we try to improve the system as a whole. That's what we worked on a lot last year, and then improving continually on that PLC work. So the collaborative piece, the year before, we invested in our principals attending Amplify your impact, which is really learning how to lead collaborative teams. So we've tried to start with leaders, and now how do we really move that so that they can effectively help our teachers do really well in that area. And that's why we work with Mr. Mafoni. We brought him in to expand the knowledge and skills of our principals and leader teams so that then they can carry that into the buildings. So we're trying to step by step get better at prioritizing standards and really breaking down what do we need kids to learn? What is the data telling us? How do we need to change based on that data? So that's that process, and we're continually trying to improve that. But those are some of the things that we've done in the last 2 years to impact student achievement. We can make conclusions from what we see right now. But that doesn't, that's why I get back to my original question. Are we investing in the right work? And I think from a research standpoint and from what we know about high performance systems, I would say we think we're doing the right work. But we still have to evaluate it. We still have to look at the data and make decisions that way.
And I would add, it's not all about the curriculum and the instruction. I think there is a large piece that has to do with attendance and behavior. And we've started an attendance committee that is really looking at the data and putting strategies in place. We didn't call it a task force, but I mean, it is a task force because we need to get kids in school before we can make an impact on them. And the other piece is behavior, and we're starting the behavior reset and the behavior huddles. I mean, that's a significant investment in time into looking at that data and what strategies are actually working. Because we have to have good student behavior and engagement and kids ready to learn before that curriculum and that instruction can be effective. And we have teachers that are struggling with that right now, just having kids ready to learn and engaged in the classroom.
Is there anything in this data that you as a team think, oh, we have to pivot right now and do something? We have to change what we're doing right now? Or do you think we're on a path to correct this data or correct it, improve it?
I don't think, looking at this, obviously we have to say, how are we moving? Is that still the right? So we're constantly looking at data. This isn't the only set of data that we would look at. We would still look at those pieces, like at the elementary level, the Acadians, the MAP scores. What is that showing us? How are we moving that way? The growth of our students, because this tells one story, but it's not the whole story. And so we do have to look at more pieces to really evaluate how do we move forward in this area, or what is a pivot? What does a pivot look like? And how can we make that happen? Do we have the time? Do we have the resources? So there's a lot that goes into any potential move, but that's what we constantly evaluate. And when I say that, we talk about those short action cycles. So we're looking at, are we taking the right actions? And we try to bring that in alignment with our strategic plan. And then this is the kind of data. This is, again, the lagging data, but we want to look at leading measures as well so that we can take meaningful actions. And I think we're trying to, as leaders, really improve in that area, because that's not an easy skill set to have and to be responsive to. But that's an approach that we're trying to take at our level so that we can better impact our leaders and our teachers in our buildings.
Ms. Serbic.
I feel like the framework for doing better is in place. I think it's, maybe we can expedite it. And how can we think about that as a board to make sure that we are adding more junior K classes, supporting salaries in a greater way, by taking something away to make sure that we're hiring the best, most qualified teachers. So I think, at least for me, I feel like the board's role is, how can we expedite what they're doing or support it? Because I think that those pieces are in place. It's just, we need to really start running.
All right, well, I talk for a living and have been very quiet on purpose because one, I don't know what to say and I don't know what to add to the conversation. But what I would say, one thing that we can eliminate is talking about it tonight, being fired up about it tonight, and then not doing anything until the next report, hoping that the numbers improve. So as a board, I think we can come up with a strategy to move this issue to the top of our thought, focus. And if you don't purposely do that by us saying we'll talk about it once a month or whatever it is, then quite frankly, as history has proven, we'll talk about it and then we don't do anything until next year and then we talk about it again. Walt talked about being on the board 3 years. I've been on 5 years and it's been the same thing. And so that is something that we can do. It's a situation when you say complicated, that's an underestimation of what it is, because there's so many things that affect what these scores are. And so I don't know, we have time to probably not tonight, but strategize, but for all 7 of us to purpose not to let this issue die. And while we can't fix it, obviously this year, we certainly can highlight it, talk about it, ask about what's going on since the report has been, you know, again, I don't know what the task force was last time in the work that they did. Maybe you can help us with that if that's needed. Yeah, obviously that's going to have a goal of what's the purpose of it. I mean, what is it, you know, supposed to do? The other thing, Dr. Thompson and Dr. Roberts, that I need your help with is I've got to report to my boss, the community, and say something to them about why this is happening. Because they don't have the advantage of this report and can see that there are some parts of the report where students are improving. All they see is the overall score that it's dropped. And they want to know, and I'll say they want to know why when we don't know why per se. But we still, again, we're, you know, people think that the board is, I don't know what they think about us, but we're the front-facing 7 to the community, and they're going to ask why. And this, we already obviously know that this information is going to be used to beat us up about, well, why are you asking me for money when you're not even doing your job? So is there anything that we can say to answer the question of why? And this is for anybody, help us.
Obviously, there's a lot. If we had a cut and dried answer, we would do it. Nobody's like keeping some great idea that we're not doing just because we don't want to. But I can say for sure that the data shows us as we dig into buildings and classrooms that when we do not have highly qualified staff, it impacts this. And we do not have highly qualified staff in elementary classrooms. When we do not have it in middle school or high school classrooms, we do see the impact in the numbers. It matters.
And I would add that there is decades worth of research that shows that schools that have poor or inadequate facilities have lower achievement all across the nation and even internationally. And that when improvements are made to facilities, attendance improves, behavior improves, and student achievement improves. So the fact that we have poor and inadequate facilities are adding to the issue, and that needs to be addressed. It is part of the solution. It's part of our overall plan.
Well, just think about even how hard it is to learn on those days when it's too hot. How hard it is to learn when, just different things aren't functioning well, when there isn't a classroom space, when there isn't room to move around and meet with those groups. Some of the times when we're testing on those leading measures, they're pulling a student out into the hallway to do it. And while students and people are moving by, that's the space we have to test it. But when we're pulling a student out in the hall to do that kind of test, are our results the best they possibly could be? Probably not.
Ms. Stephenson.
I appreciate President Carr that you brought it back to what the board can do. And one of the things that we put in our annual school board objective, our first objective is the board will regularly monitor progress on district goals, effective instruction, and student achievement. So I think as a board, we could work to kind of develop a calendar of like what data we want and how we want to monitor that. And we could work with the superintendent to do that. I think that'd be an optimal place, and maybe could be something that we work on in a meeting or as a committee.
Well, and we've already, finance committee and leadership have already had initial conversations. And this is again, what makes this issue complicated, because the two reasons that we've talked about of areas of how we can improve are paying highly qualified staff and improving our facilities. Well, we only have a certain pot of money. You can't do both.
You can't,
right? Where we deal with a limited amount of money. And so as I think Vice President Clapham said, this is what we get paid to do: set priorities, make decisions about, okay, these are the two things that we need. What are we going to prioritize? Knowing that we can't necessarily do both. So that's kind of where we are. That's the reality of where we are. And it's up to U7, U6 to make a decision on how we spend the money. Do we concentrate on highly qualified staff? Or do we concentrate on the stats that say our facilities need to be better? And that is true. When a student is taking a test in the hallway with distractions of you name it, right? Is that the best learning environment? Is that the best testing environment? And we don't need to spend an hour to say, well, no, that's not. So, Ms. Stebbins.
I still have a few more things to say.
Sure. We'll don't worry, we'll edit the agenda so we're not here till 11. So
I think we can't do facilities and increase staff pay at the same time if we get a bond.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think that's a path. And so when it does come back to what can the board do, working really hard to pass a bond, what we're hearing is something we could do in the long game and the 20-year game to help improve. One thing that I think would be helpful from administration for us as we make these hard decisions, I would like to know, because I don't have a doctorate in education, is there an optimal staff to student ratio? Is there an optimal class size that we might have better outcomes if our class size was smaller? We might have better outcomes if we had this many, literacy specialists, because the data shows it. And not because we can say, well, then if that's it, then we're going to do it. But then at least we can, when we're making hard decisions, say, I just like research. I want to follow data. Do we actually get higher quality staff when we pay, if we increase our pays, we're the highest paid in Western South Dakota. Do we increase the quality of our staff? Does that make a difference? Does it just fill positions? How do we get a higher quality of staff? I mean, not that Don't get me wrong. There's a big problem. It's gonna take a lot of really good people. And I wouldn't mind having some data like that. We're deficient in this. Our classrooms are too big. Our schools are too big. We don't have enough APs. We don't have enough counselors to students, whatever it is, that data would be helpful.
I would say we don't have enough of any of those things and we don't have the money to pay for it.
Yeah, I was gonna comment that Dr. Thompson has been clear in saying that we have staffing issues. You
But
have
if-
to pull a interventionist or whatever from their job to fill a classroom.
But if we're gonna make a decision to take more capital outlay to pay teachers more, I want to be told the ideal teacher to student ratio is this in an elementary. We're currently at this. We believe that if you pay this, we can get halfway there. We can split the difference. We can get this many more. But I don't wanna just go to COI and say, I wanna raise our teacher pay to, 85,000 a year. That would be so amazing. And I wish you had the magic
I
wand to
am
do that.
looking at all of that stuff,
Uh-huh.
Christine. I'm looking at how we assign counselors and assistant principals and nurses across our
Mhm.
elementaries and our middle schools. And there's not an exact number on what those should be, but there are some recommendations like on counselors. And do we meet that number? No.
Mhm.
But then I also have to look at what is realistic and what ratio can we maintain and work with COI on that because we need a plan that's sustainable over time.
Mhm.
And as I said, I'm working on it, but it takes time to put that all together. So
Mhm.
I have planned to bring that to you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Ms. Urban.
I mean, I think I'm just maybe a little more optimistic. I think having good data makes sense so we can make informed decisions. But I do think we have more options, like taking money from capital outlay and hopefully passing a bond. And I think that's a bigger discussion for our finance committee and for another night. But I do think that there are options, and I've been saying it for a while, but I really think we do need to be the highest paid and the most competitive to the degree that we can, because we are losing good educators. I saw it all the time when I was at Douglas. And we hear about it routinely. So we need to make sure we're keeping our best.
All right, I know a long discussion, very important discussion. Thank you so much again for the report, and we'll press on and continue on. Thank you for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you, Jennifer. I know it's hard to deliver those numbers.
It's gross.
All right, no conflict of interest. I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed agreement and MOUs. There's only one, so do I have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no hands, all in favor of approving the agreement it's the agreement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Is there anything on the consent agenda that a board member would like to pull for further discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. All right. Just know I'm supposed to be hitting my gavel for each successful motion, so. When is the
Friday. I mean, I think
well, we don't have executive session, so that helps. And my hope is that everyone has gone through, well, if you haven't gone through it now, I guess it's kind of late at this point. All right, here's what we're gonna do.
But it makes sense to just, if people have a question, a concern,
About the whole thing?
just if anyone has because I only looked at the ones that were edited anyway, the other ones have been standing for 2-3 years. There's no point to discuss those. If someone has an issue or concern or I don't want us to support this, like, to me, that's all we need to talk about. Because the other, we don't need to go one to one to one to one if no one has an issue.
I agree. Good idea. Okay. Is there anyone, any board member that has gone through, well, let's do this at least. Let me at least be organized in this. Okay, so we have standing positions that are going to be continued. Does any board member have any continued standing position that you have an issue with or disagree with? All right, we're moving on. You guys didn't get them?
I have not, I don't think I don't have any other emails and no flag.
I got nothing there with my weekend notes.
Okay, I assumed everybody got them.
And
Because-
they're attached to the agenda too. Oh, no, my apologies.
Okay, well, my apologies. I mean, we can't postpone it because it's Friday, so I guess it'll be those of us that.
Can we just send you our opinion by Thursday? Would that be okay? I mean, at least for the benefit of people who didn't see them.
I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing in Robert's rules here, but for me, like, I won't leave for Pier until Friday morning. And so, I mean, generally speaking, like, cause I mean, it is our vote as a board, but I think I would know unless I got 4 or more I hate thises, then it really kind of doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but I mean, it doesn't, like, we still, if we were gonna sit here and go through it and 2 of you didn't like it, or 2 of us, didn't like it, would be like, well, the majority of us still, so we would still go that direction. So I think, to me, it seems reasonable to say, email me, I'm fine with that, like, if you have an issue, a question, a concern, whatever, but by Thursday evening, I'm okay with that. If other people have different feelings, that's fine. This is my second or third delegate. I mean, I feel like I know what I'm doing. But if people object to that, totally fine. But yes, I would be fine with that.
Mr. Swan has come up with an even better idea than Mrs. Vice President Clapham. So President Clapham, we're gonna go with Mr. Swan's suggestion that those of you who have not seen it, Vice President Clapham is leaving sometime, let's say Thursday. Let's say by Thursday evening at a reasonable time, because she'll be leaving on Friday. So where can they find, well, I mean, you can go to the.
I can resend them.
You can resend them, okay. So everyone should get an email listing these, read them over. If you have any issues, give them, it's not something that we vote on. It's just a consensus of agreement that we will support the positions and resolutions of the entity. All right, good work. Where's my agenda? Agenda, committee reports. Anyone? Okay.
I'm waiting for my computer to load. Okay, I have just 2 for facilities. Our current IDIQ contracts, which are like the professional design services like architecture and engineering, they were awarded in April of 2022, and they are set to expire in June this year. They can be extended until 2027, but the facilities committee is recommending that we rebid instead of extending. There's also like an internal policy issue. So currently, anytime there's a design service over $25,000, it takes a full bidding process. And so we know that most projects, or many, exceed that threshold, and it slows the work down considerably. So the facilities committee is recommending raising that internal threshold to $100,000 so that they can just use those firms and not have to bid out the work every time it exceeds 25,000. For Rapid Valley, the original CMAR estimate came in at 25.7, which is at least 6 million over the anticipated budget. So Chamberlain Architects and Skull Construction and our facilities folks have been working to reduce those costs, and they've compromised on certain elements, and they've been able to bring the cost down by quite a bit, down to 22.7 as of the last I heard. So they're going to keep looking for those savings, but we still believe it's a really good investment. And then my other one is the Big Five group met last week. That includes Pennington County Commission, Western Dakota Tech, the School of Mines, the Mayor's Office, and County Commissioner. Each organization shared updates on their key initiatives and priorities. Western Dakota Tech reported that enrollment is up, and President Erickson is working with Superintendent Thompson to strengthen partnerships around high school career and technical education. Specifically, they're looking at how we can maybe partner in the construction area. The School of Mines reported flat enrollment, but noted increase in student retention. President Tandy, who joined the institution fairly recently, is focused on expanding innovation-based learning and creating stronger real-world connections. The city shared several updates, including the work of the newly formed opioid settlement committee, which is tasked with determining how best to invest settlement dollars to address addiction in our community. Mayor Salomon also discussed the city's continued expansion toward the east, an important development as our population is growing, and our facility issues on the east side. Of course, that's an ongoing thing that we're trying to address. He also noted the upcoming January 20th election on Liberty Land, the TIF, which has implications for the sports complex if it doesn't pass. He talked a little bit about what that sports complex might look like, which was interesting. It's going to involve a lot of community elements that can be used by everyone, like a walking track, and I don't know if you remember anything else, Bishop Carr, but that was what I had for the Big Five.
Committee reports, anybody else? I'm packing up and realize we're not done.
I'll be really quick. I'll just start. One policy really quick. We're not meeting in November, so there is nothing to say except for what was already on the agenda, with Attorney Parker away traveling for a while, and so we'll meet in December. Legislative committee, we are working on when our next meeting is. There's scheduling challenges, but we will have another meeting before the end of the calendar year. We're just not quite sure when that is going to be. And with ASBSD, the director's meeting is on Thursday. I apologize, board, I will be missing it. It is my daughter's birthday, so won't be traveling to Pierre until Friday, but I will meet all the directors for lunch on Friday and then be at the delegate assembly. So any information I get from across the state and from the directors, I will bring back and share with you guys.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, Rapid City Public Foundation, we met last night and we discussed above and beyond, and we had such a huge response. The sponsor for this will be Black Hills Community Bank. And then the other reminder I want to remind everyone in the Rapid City Area School District is the Day of Giving, which is Tuesday, December 2nd. Help us reach our goal. We're wanting a quantity of donors over quantity of dollars. We are hosting a challenge. Our goal is 100% participation in the Public School Foundation board members, 100% participation in the Rapid City Area School Board, and at least 92% because we were founded in 1992 participation rate of all Rapid City area school staff. The highest percentage of participation in a building will win a prize. Even $1 will make a difference. And this came out in an email on October 29th from Sarah, if anybody wants to go and scan the QR code. instructional council. We had a meeting and we looked at, we had some speakers of teachers who were piloting HMH. That was presented to the council, and some of the things that were reported back were like the strengths of this program and the challenges. And it was also noted that this second pilot walkthroughs were scheduled. I had the opportunity to visit 3 schools last week, Grandview, Rapid Valley, and Valley View, to observe the second pilot of the ELA. I was able to see the materials that the teachers were using, which was My View by Sabas in action. And this week I'll do a walkthrough through the second pilot program at Stevens High School, and I believe also Central High School. I also want to thank the teachers for being willing to explore and take extra time to pilot these programs and allowing walkthroughs so that we can see these programs in action. It's more meaningful to see how the students are reacting to these pilot programs. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Stephens.
Angela, is the day of giving, the 92% and the 100% of board members, and is that on that one day or is it open now up until that day? Okay, that campaign is ongoing. Okay. I just wanted to report for the Community Outreach Committee. You all got some calendar invites for student listening sessions. We had one last week at Central that was kind of like snuck in as part of their student council, is doing some forums with administration at the school, and they just invited us to come. The ones tomorrow are for an English class that we had set up first. If anybody is going to those, I would like to be able to email the teacher to what she can expect, and I just haven't heard yet. We have the hats and mittens party is December 6th, and I filled out that we would volunteer, not obligating anybody, but it was a fun thing if anybody has Saturday morning, December 6th open. I just realized that I have an orchestra concert that morning, but I don't have it until 10:30, so I can start and be there for part of the day. And then one of the things that we as a committee talked about moving forward as we enter into a bond campaign and the hopes of getting a lot of community support for our schools was to try and identify opportunities where the board can be more visible at things that maybe aren't district events. So the Elevate has a Christmas mixer, and we're gonna try and make sure that we have board members there. There are, now I'm just blanking because it's late. But anyway, we've identified some opportunities of things that are going on in the community, and our goal is to keep you all aware of that so that we can be not just visiting our schools, but be out there advocating. I think that, as we've often said, we want to be experts at the district, and part of that, we get the privilege of being experts in the district, and it would be wonderful for us to go out in the community and be those experts, and try and garner as much support as we can for the district. So, I think that was it. We had one board corner go out. We'll have another one go out in December at the end of the semester. And then we have listening sessions at Stevens set up one in December at Rhapsody Alternative Academy. The idea of that is to kind of hear from the kids, the students that just went through the discovery program, to hear what they thought of it. And then Stevens will be in government classes in January.
I just thought, it seemed like in an informal discussion that nobody was able to go to the 12:10 listening session at Central. You can't, 12, yeah. Okay.
I emailed you the times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you might not have been here a part of the conversation, because my point was, we had mentioned we didn't just want one person going, and at that time, I thought that I was the only one going, so it's not an issue. Who's going at 9? Anybody going at 9?
Like that would be 9 to 10:35.
Oh. I mean, I was planning to go to that, but
I ended up having to go to work, and then
Me too.
yeah.
so did I go if it's just me or not?
Let's talk. should we cancel and reschedule? It is a really busy month. And I know that Mrs. Pyowski was kind of like very flexible. That way, in terms of community outreach, I'll just highlight too that Dr. Thompson sent out a volunteer form for the food bank assistance, which was today, tomorrow, and then the distribution on Thursday. So we could freeze us up to be able to participate in that. Another board volunteer opportunity.
Okay, any other committee reports? Thank you, Ms. Stephenson. All right, others. Ms. Clapham.
I promise I'll be efficient because I know everybody's tired. I wanted to say thank you to Rapid Valley for having me to call bingo. I have learned, and there's no children in here to say, you know, if you call 067, be prepared for the 6-7 response. So learned that one the hard way. Thanks to Meadowbrook, I got to go to their Veterans Parade, and on that, I just want to say I think a lot of us got some communication on like, why are we not having Veterans Day off, and we had Halloween off. So I just want to clarify, one, the only reason Halloween was off was for professional development debate. It wasn't because we canceled school on Halloween. So let's be clear on that. And to be, you know, we consulted with our 2 esteemed board members who are veterans, Mr. Schwan and President Carr, we talked about what they thought as veterans about having school on Veterans Day. And I think the consensus was it's amazing the way veterans are celebrated and what kids learn going to school on Veterans Day. And so it was not an oversight or a neglect on our part. And I can tell you by participating in the parade, it was really cool to see. The kids were chanting and it was really awesome. And the last thing I suppose on it, just it's been brought to my attention in the past, and we've talked about it in one of those things we need to continue to talk about. I, on an individual level, and I'm really concerned about some issues of racism happening in our schools with things being said to students, and it just, you know, cheesy cliche as it sounds, they say every student in this district is somebody's baby. And I would never want my babies to experience what I have learned has happened to some of our kids. I have a guttural physical response to that. And so what does it look like? Like, obviously we can't change, you know, what people learn at home, but we can, as a district, a culture and what is tolerated and what is not. And I think just like our concerns about achievement, like we have to take a stand and say that certain things are just not tolerated. They're just not. And obviously, like, what that looks like in a larger, you know, plan, I don't know. But I want to make it clear that this district should be a place that kids feel safe, kids feel welcomed, kids feel celebrated, and anything less than that, I take as a personal issue for our students to have to face that.
Right, and I'll co-sign on all of Vice President Clapham's statements. All right, any other? Ms. Stephenson.
I just, yes, with you 100% on that. I co-sign it as well. On a lighter note, I just wanted to let the district know, I don't think the board is gonna have a trivia team on Thursday night. Jamie has multiple obligations. Our turkey bingo at Wilson got postponed to this Thursday from last Thursday. I know there's another turkey bingo, what? Oh, and there is the food bank distribution. And so Thursday is a busy night. If anybody's planning on going though, I think you should go and just hijack a team, and that team should be lucky because we were good last year.
Okay, any other? All right, we are not having an executive session, and so we're on to adjournment. I'll take a motion. Urban and Swan have moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We hear you not. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.